Grand Rising, everybody. Let's wait for everybody to come in. I am recording for the YouTube because this will be posted to YouTube. Let's wait for the fam to come in. Grand Rising, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be out in the world. Welcome to your week ahead astrology forecast with Louie, the Soul Sage. Um, we have a lot to talk about today. We have some very interesting astrology this week. Let's wait for people to come in before I dive into the astrology of this week. We got a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about. Aquarius season is going to be very busy. Energetically, we have a lot of transition that happens this Aquarius season, and this week kicks it all off. This is officially the last day of Capricorn season. Welcome, everybody. Hi. Hi, beautiful people. Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back. For those of you that were here last night for the new moon in Capricorn live, welcome back. Here we are, the next day. Happy new moon in Capricorn. We still have that energy in the air. It's not too late to set intentions, to do any manifestation work or ritual work if that's something that you're into. If you want to do some vision boarding, you want to do some journaling, you want to write out what your goals and dreams are for 2026 and what you want the planets to help you manifest, especially Saturn. We had this new moon in Capricorn yesterday. For those of you that are not in the know, okay, who weren't here yesterday for last night for my live, we had this new moon in Capricorn yesterday that's inviting us to get more serious, to be more responsible, to be more autonomous, to be more intentional in the way that we navigate our life, and to kind of focus up and align ourselves with goals, dreams, ambitions that are really connected to the heart and connected to the spirit. Got my behind out in honor of the Cap New Moon. I love that. Let me wave at everybody as they're coming in. Let me actually have my I'm gonna have my iPad ready too, just in case I'm not able to read the comments. I have this as like have it as like a backup in case I need it, in case I need the iPad. So yeah, so with the this new moon in Capricorn cycle over the next 2 weeks that we're in, as Aquarius season starts, I want you guys to really be thinking about, goals, dreams, ambitions for 2026. And I want you to think about maybe updating them or reframing them, or maybe there's like a process of reconsideration, you know? There's been a lot of kind of like disillusionment for people around work, around career, around love, relationships, where people are kind of like they've been in a fog in relationship to something and they're waking up to the truth of what it is and they're asking themselves, "Oh, do I really want this? Because this is not what I thought it was going to be." Right? And the reason why there's this energy of kind of like disillusionment or waking up from the fantasy, or like even in some way, shape, or form, the honeymoon phase coming to an end. It's because we have Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces. And a big thing that happens this month, do believe it's this month, I think it's February 13th actually, is Saturn leaves Pisces finally. Or I'm sorry, what happens this Aquarius season? I don't want to say this month because I don't think it's this month. I think it's actually February 13th. Saturn, oh, and Neptune. Saturn and Neptune both enter Aries over the next 2 weeks. Actually, hold on, wait. Saturn enters Aries. I'm gonna get you guys the date right now. February 14th. Okay. So Saturn goes into Aries, February 14th. This is important because Saturn and Neptune, as they both enter Aries this Aquarius season, um, they actually they make a conjunction in Aries at 0 degrees Aries, which is kind of like a critical point. So um this is going to be a monumental Aquarius season because of the ingress of Saturn and Neptune both into Aries. Okay. So Neptune goes into Aries. Let's take a look. I'll tell you guys the day. You guys can write this down on your astro calendar if you keep one. So Neptune goes into Aries on the 26th. okay? Followed by Saturn, who goes into Aries almost 3 weeks later on February 14th, 13th, and the 14th. Yeah. And then, so we have this conjunction with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, this Aquarius season. And for many people, I mean, what does this signify? What does this tell us? This tells us that we're starting a new chapter in our life. We're starting a new storyline. There's a new narrative that will begin for many people with Saturn, Neptune going into Aries together. But we got to also remember, we got to keep in mind when we start and begin new narratives, what else is happening in conjunction usually? We're ending or closing out or moving away from a certain narratives or stories that are like, it's like the end, right? So what we're going to see over the next, 3 weeks, actually, it's going to be all through Aquarius season because Saturn and Neptune are leaving Pisces this Aquarius season. We're going to see a lot of endings and a lot of absolute closures, but also people like initiating or beginning or starting something new. That's going to be like a really big theme. We also got to think about the combination of Saturn, Neptune, and Aries with all this Aquarius energy. This is very much about social justice. It's about radicalization. It's about overthrowing the government. It's about protests and rebellion. So, we're going to have this very interesting thing happening over the next 6 months, but it begins this month where Saturn and Neptune go into Aries, and then eventually Uranus is going to go into Gemini. And Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto and Aquarius are all speaking to each other. They're all, right? Uranus and Pluto are going to be in a trine, and Saturn and Neptune is going to be sextiling and connecting to Saturn, Neptune is going to be sextiling Pluto and sextiling Uranus and Gemini. So we're about to see kind of like this radicalization and this like speeding up of time. Okay, I will tell you this. Aries is the fastest moving sign of the zodiac. So with Saturn and Neptune going into Aries together, we're gonna start to see like things kind of like moving fast. Okay, that's gonna be like a really big theme. And people kind of like wanting to individuate themselves or wanting to go solo dolo, wanting to be more independent. And, we're going to see this. It's interesting because Aries has a lot to do with, the physical body and working out, and it has a lot to do with our passions and our, us as an individual and our warrior spirit and our courage and our bravery and our ability to kind of individuate ourselves and be independent of others. And so, with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries in this Aquarius season, I really do feel we're going to start to see a lot of people going solo in some type of way in their life. And I really do think Saturn and Aries is we're gonna see an exacerbation of the pandemic of singleness with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, because the energy is pushing us towards our individual sovereignty, right? Saturn and Neptune is pushing us to be an individual and to be sovereign unto ourselves. And, I always think of Aries as the sign of the usurper or the sign of the warrior that overthrows the king or the queen. Okay. And if you guys have ever seen the movie Gladiator, the original one with Russell Crowe, he's very much an Aries archetype. He's very much an Aries archetype. Russell Crowe from Gladiator, right? He fights his way from the bottom. He's nothing. He's a grunt. He's a slave, right? He enters the arena where the only place, you got to think about this. The only place he can assert his power and his authority and his individual sovereignty is in the arena, right? And then he keeps fighting, Ares, fighting until the final boss is the king, right? Until he fights the king and overthrows the king and kills the king, right? He dies too because he was scammed and he was stabbed ahead of time. I don't, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen Gladiator. But if you have not seen Gladiator, what are you doing? Right? Because that movie's been out for years and it's a really good one. And it's like on TNT and stuff. I don't even know if TNT exists anymore, but it's on, it's always on television and stuff. So if you have an opportunity to watch Gladiator, you should, because the energy of Aries is very much connected to, that movie. And we're going to see a lot of people kind of challenging authority figures. This is going to be a really big theme with the combination of Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. People are very rebellious Oh, don't tell me what to do. The government, don't overstep my boundaries. My parents, my mother, my father, my spouse, don't tell me what to do. Leave me alone. So we're gonna start to and start to see a lot of people fighting for themselves, asserting themselves more so. Okay. Um, so I want you guys to keep this in mind all Aquarius season, okay? Because Saturn and Neptune are going into Aries, all right? So let's start talking about the astrology of this particular week, okay? Why is this week so important? Well, it's because we've had a whole Capricorn stellium in the sky, and excuse me, starting this week, all these planets that were in Capricorn go into Aquarius. And what I was talking about last night briefly, which I said I was going to talk about today, is all these planets, they have to march through the gate of Hades. They have to make conjunctions with Pluto. And so let me take a look. So this week, Venus entered Aquarius Saturday, like Saturday evening. So we have Venus at 0 degrees Aquarius. Actually, no, wait, hold on. I'm looking at Saturday for some reason. Let me look at today. Hold on. Okay, so we have Venus at 2 degrees Aquarius, conjunct Pluto right now. Like they're at 1 degree, but I consider that a conjunction. We have the moon in Aquarius right now. We have the sun going into Aquarius tomorrow on January 20th, and Mercury. So the sun and Mercury, they go into Kazemi. Okay, the sun and Mercury, they do their Kazemi tomorrow, actually. So we have Sun Mercury conjunction tomorrow. On Tuesday, we'll talk about that. And then what's going to happen is Mercury and Pluto make a conjunction on Thursday. So we have a Venus Pluto conjunction this week. Then we have a Mercury Pluto conjunction on Thursday, which is January 22nd. And then the day after, on Friday, January 23rd, we have the Sun conjunct Pluto. And also on this day, on Friday, January 23rd, Mars enters Aquarius. Okay, so now we have a Mars Pluto conjunction. And let me tell you, the Mars Pluto conjunction is always one of espionage and crimes and government manipulation and Mars, Pluto, and Aquarius, power to the people. But Mars, Pluto in conjunction tends to be, you know, it tends to trigger the revealing of corruption in some type of way. And it can also be about abuses of power. So I want you guys to be very aware of this week, especially starting this weekend. With Mars going into Aquarius and Mars sitting right next to Pluto, abuses of power and things coming to the surface that have been hidden or that have been secret or that people have been trying to hide. One of the things that Jesus says, right? Everything in the dark shall come to the light. Okay. And we're going to start to see a lot of this week as the planetary parade is moving through Pluto. Pluto loves to expose what's underneath the surface. If there's rot underneath the floorboards, Pluto is going to show you where that rot is at, right? So, with Venus and Pluto in a conjunction first, this is going to be looking like, in the realm of partnerships, relationships, Venus Pluto conjunction, when people have that in their own natal chart, one of the biggest one of the most like relationships are always an intense thing for them. It's the same thing with Venus and Scorpio. So having Venus conjunct Pluto or Venus in aspect to Pluto, I've seen a lot of folks with Venus and Taurus opposite Pluto and Aquarius or opposite Pluto and Scorpio. People have the Pluto and Scorpio generation like myself, or they have Venus and Leo squaring Pluto in Scorpio. And let me tell you, a Venus Pluto aspect in your birth chart, or when Pluto is transiting your Venus, okay, or having Venus in Scorpio, like myself, is not for the faint of heart, okay? It's not for the weak. I will tell you this. Because the thing about Pluto, right? Pluto brings obsession and intoxication and addiction. And Pluto also brings betrayal and power control issues when he's in aspect to Venus. So, things around manipulation, things around gaslighting, things around obsession. And this could also be an eighth house Venus thing. So, if you have an eighth house Venus, Venus in Scorpio, Venus Pluto aspect, right? Really intense experiences of betrayal that transform and change you, okay? Also, when people have eighth house Venus, Venus in Scorpio, Venus Pluto aspects, when there will be women in their life that will pass away, or they'll have female relationships that are traumatic and intense and life changing, and it could be for the good or for the bad. And so, with Venus Pluto aspects, Venus has to confront death. She has to learn how to let go of lovers. She has to learn how to forgive and forget. We get a lot of Romeo Juliet energy with Venus and Scorpio, Venus and eighth house, Venus Pluto aspects. Okay, a lot of like Romeo Juliet shit going on. Okay, if I can't have you, then no one can. Like, seriously, I've literally done readings for people with Venus Pluto stuff going on, and they have been in relationships where they were literally afraid of their partner. They were afraid of leaving their partner because their partner was like obsessed with them and like controlling and manipulative and was like, if I can't have you, no one can type of energy. And it's scary. Sometimes having a Venus Pluto aspect, relationships are scary for you. Okay, because it's like damn, like it's not easy. It's never simple. It's never easy. It's always complicated, it's always deep, it's always intense, it's always passionate, and it's always transformative and traumatic, unfortunately. Because Pluto, he traumatizes you, right? Pluto scares us, he traumatizes us, he transforms us, he changes us. So having Venus Pluto aspect is not easy in your own natal chart, but I want you guys to think about this week with Venus Pluto coming into a conjunction on Tuesday, tomorrow. It's like Venus is already right next to Pluto. Venus is at 2, Pluto's at 3 degrees Aquarius, okay? And we're talking about Aquarius, so this is another thing. And this is what I was talking about yesterday with Venus and Aquarius and Venus transiting Saturn ruled signs. So this could also be something if you have Venus and Capricorn, okay? Or if you have a Venus Saturn aspect. So Venus Pluto aspects are similar but different to Venus Saturn aspects, or having Venus in like a Saturn ruled sign, a Capricorn or Aquarius, or even having a 10th house Venus. This is actually a thing, okay? I see this a lot. 10th house Venus. Being being with partners that are cold, that are mean, that are controlling or domineering, but highly successful and ambitious. So what's really interesting about Venus Saturn stuff is you get a little bit of the good and the bad. When Venus and Saturn are aspecting each other, when you have Venus in a Saturn ruled sign, because you'll end up with people that are Saturnian in nature. So they can be very ambitious, very successful. They could have their own career, and be very prominent in their career. They could be in positions of power or authority within society. So they can be like, oh yeah, at their job, they're like the manager, right? Or they own a company and they're the CEO or whatever, or they work independently, right? They're in construction, real estate, property management. Those are all Saturn things. If you have Venus especially Venus in Capricorn, 10th house Venus, Venus in a Saturn ruled sign, or Venus aspecting Saturn, right? But the other thing with Saturn, though, is Saturn is cold and mean. And Saturn, he likes to control and dominate things. And Saturn's not a very loving, warm, or affectionate planet. So, Venus Saturn, when people have Venus in Aquarius or Capricorn, mainly Capricorn though, or 10th house Venus, okay? They're more concerned about their partner providing them security and stability and being dependable and being reliable. They're more concerned with the practical matters and the practical experience of the relationship. So, whenever I see, especially Venus in Capricorn or Venus in Saturn stuff, these people are very much like, I'll be with someone that's boring. I'll be with someone that is, always at work, as long as they're supporting me, as long as they're providing for me, as long as they give me safety and security, and as long as there's an element of consistency in the relationship. Because what they're looking for is consistency. They're looking for safety. Venus Saturn people, right? Venus and Aquarius, Venus and Capricorn. But we got to be mindful though, because Aquarius also is a sign that's very detached and it's very cold. And sometimes, right, we've all been with people that use detachment, but more like pushing you away or neglecting you, right? As a tool of manipulation or as a tool to like pull you in, right? And I've seen this a lot. I hate to say this, my loves, but this is just my experience, okay? Aquariuses have a really bad habit of doing this. Moon, and especially when people have moon in Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius, Aquarius rising. They have a really bad habit of being excessively emotionally detached from someone because they always want their independence and their space and their freedom in some type of way. And they also are deeply afraid of being dominated or controlled by a partner or losing themselves to a partner. And this is something Aquarius really is a sign that really prides themselves on their independence. They really pride themselves on, their autonomy and their freedom. And so if they feel in some way that, their freedom is being threatened, okay? If they feel like their partner's trying to control them or manipulate them and tell them what to do, right? What they're going to do is emotionally detach. And they're going to like reject and create space and they're going to like put up boundaries and put up walls because they feel threatened, right? So that's why I always tell like people with air, if you want to date someone that has an air sign Venus or an air sign moon, okay, you got to give them an element of space and freedom to be themselves. And you got to let them have their social life. You got to let them go outside and be a public person, right? Whenever see people that have a moon or Venus and an air sign, these people, they're very chatty, they're very talkative, they like a lot of social stimulation, they like to be interacting with the world. They can't be with someone that's all jealous and possessive and wants them at home and wants them to themselves. 'Cause that gives them the ick because they need that freedom to kind of like roam. They need that freedom to do their air sign thing, which is being like a social butterfly, like being out in the world, buzzing like a bee, you know what I mean? Like, and so I think what's really important with Venus and Aquarius and Venus hitting this Pluto, tomorrow, I think it's really important that we take a look at our relationships and we take a look at, our, uh, we take a look at whether or not we have a certain amount of autonomy and freedom in our relationships, you know? And I think it's important that we also, with Venus and Aquarius, you know, we partner with people that are also independent and unto themselves in some type of way. You know what I mean? So we don't get in any of these weird power dynamics, right? And stuff like this. But we just need to be very aware with Venus, Pluto, and Aquarius making this conjunction tomorrow. We need to be very aware of traumatic experiences in relationships, betrayals, secret information coming out, themes of control and manipulation, things of abuses of power, especially as Mars comes into conjunction with Pluto on this weekend. We need to be very aware of these things, okay? I just want you guys, especially if you have anything around the early degree. Oh my God, look what my data glance just said. Don't reach out to your ex. So that message is for it ain't for me. Okay, I promise you that message is not for me. But my whatchamacallit, my coin star, my co-star just sent that message right now. Do not reach out to your ex. That wasn't for me. That's for some of you. That's for somebody. We're talking about Venus Pluto right now. So it's funny how that showed up because I really do think also Venus Pluto in the sky tomorrow and just the energy this week we're gonna have that Venus Pluto energy lingering is about purging and releasing relationships that are no longer serving you and really detoxing from certain relationships. Certain relationships, they get in us like a drug. They get in our body, they get in our loins, they've been living rent free in our head, right? They get in our spirit, they get in our heart, and they're just sitting there, right? These exes, these traumatic relationships, they're just sitting there festering. and they're toxic, right? And it's unhealthy for us to hold on to those attachments, those unhealthy emotional attachments to people of the past that hurt us, that betrayed us, that lied to us, that deceived us, that took advantage of us, that controlled us, that were mean to us, that neglected us, right? Like we really internalize and hold on to those experiences. And with Venus Pluto in the sky, we're being invited to be like, let that shit go, detox from them. Purge that person out of your body. Get rid of them from your spirit, from your mind, from your emotional body. Like, we got to do a little bit of a detox and a purging of these connections and these relationships that are just my love. It's just like you got to let it go. The past is the past and don't hold on to it, okay? And then another thing, okay? This is just like a separate message, but somebody needs to hear this. If someone starts talking about an ex, like let's say you go to your mom's, okay? And you've been broken up with this person for like a year, and your mom's like, "Oh, how is so and so?" Or how they and then you get all mad, and you get all triggered, and you start fighting or arguing with her, or you get all sad, and you get all emotional about it. Well, guess what? You know what that tells us? You're still invested. Even a year later, if you have an emotional reaction to an ex, my love, I hate to tell you this, but in some way, shape, or form, you're still holding on to some kind of sentiment, some kind of emotion, some kind of energy in relation to that person. When you truly know you've healed from a relationship, when that person, when that person's name comes up, you will not have any reaction or feel any type of way. You will have a neutral reaction to that person. Okay. Maybe there will always be a certain element of the ick of like, ugh, like, I learned from that, whatever, but you won't care as much. It won't impact you as much. And that's how you know you truly healed from a situation or healed from a person that was unhealthy or toxic for you, right? So I want you guys to think about this week with Venus Pluto coming into conjunction tomorrow, and Venus Pluto, that energy being in the sky. Another thing I want to say is Aquarius is a sign of friends. It's a sign of our social entanglements and our social engagements, but specifically the groups of people that we socialize with. Okay, so like our friend group, and we have many different friend groups. Some of us, we have our astrology group, meetup group. We have our video gamer group that we go to. We have our reading group that we go to. Right? We have these groups that we partake in that we build community with. That's what Aquarius is about, right? Aquarius is about the community and the friendship groups that we create based off shared interests, right? And with Venus, Pluto in the sky, and then Mars coming in with Pluto and all this in Aquarius, there may be some things that we realize around groups of friends where it's like, you know what? I don't really feel like these people are my vibe anymore, or even just friendships in general. I don't feel like these people are my vibe anymore. I don't really relate to this friend group anymore. In some way, shape, or form, those connections are outdated and they need to be updated or transformed or changed. But Aquarius, which is so interesting because it rules friends and social groups, but guess what Aquarius also is connected to? Ostracization and being bullied or picked on, right? Or being left out, kicked out of the group. Okay. And it's really interesting. A lot of Leos have this narrative in their life. A lot of Aquarius and Leos have this narrative in their life where, they're part of a group of people or they wanted to be accepted into a group of people and then they got kicked out, they got ostracized, right? Because not everybody can be the Beyonce, right? And Destiny Child. Not everybody can be Beyonce, right? So what happens is it's so interesting because this happens to Leos a lot. Leos will end up getting ostracized or kicked out of a friend group, or they'll end up getting like singled out in some type of way because Aquarius, the sign of the collective and the community and the people, opposes them, right? And friendship groups. And it's funny because there'll be a group of people that will be like, Leo, humble yourself. It's not about you, it's about the S, it's about the collective, it's about the community, right? So it's really interesting. That's like a very common Leo thing, to be ostracized or bullied or picked on. But that it's also just in general, that may be something that is a theme with this astrology this week. We may have these narratives or stories of being, kicked out of the group in some type of way. or no longer aligning with the friend group. So we want to like we gotta like exit. We gotta, exit stage left or whatever because we don't no longer feel included, okay? Or we no longer feel valued or appreciated by our friends. And I want you guys to just be very mindful of this social energy in the air, especially as Saturn goes into Aries, because with the ruler of Aquarius, the traditional ruler of Aquarius being Saturn, and Saturn going to Aries, to me this is giving fights with friends. The combination of the Aquarius energy and Saturn going into Aries. This is like, fights with friends and stuff. So, or people separating themselves from their friend group, or people leaving behind outdated friendships that are no longer in alignment with the person that they're becoming and stuff, right? So, yeah, I also think that we need to be a few other themes because of this is we're entering a very plutonic week, a very plutonic energy this week going into next week. We just need to be very aware of this energy of kind of like betrayal and deception and how people playing power games and people being manipulative and stuff like that. High vibration of the Pluto activity this week though, is deep, powerful transformation and change. Stepping into your future self. Aquarius, this energy this week, right? Starting this week, this Aquarius energy going through Pluto is like, who is your Pluto and Aquarius self? Okay? What is the future needs you, right? Let's say somebody from 2090 showed up at your door today and they're like, we need you. Okay? We need you in the future. How do you need to transform or change yourself? How do you need to transform or change your identity? How do you need to update your programming within yourself, your personality programming, your character programming, your identity programming, or the way you think, the way you perceive things, so that you can be that person that we need in 2090? Okay? Who do we need you? With the future needs you. Okay. And this week, with Pluto going into, with the sun ingressing in Aquarius, all these planets going into Aquarius and passing through Pluto, this is like your future self breaking through. This is like your future self needing to, you know, needing to get clear around what that future self looks like. Who do you want to become over the next 20 years of Pluto and Aquarius? How does Pluto want to update you and transform you and change you? I'm experiencing this transit in real time. Got a little on my lip here. I'm experiencing this transit in real time because Pluto and the Sun in Aquarius this week will be directly squaring my early degree Sun Mercury conjunction in Aquarius or in Scorpio. I have Sun Mercury together in Scorpio. I have the Sun at 4 degrees Scorpio and Mercury at 3 degrees Scorpio. And so Pluto is actually squaring my Mercury and squaring my Sun right now. And those of us that are the Pluto and Scorpio generation, so if you have Pluto and Scorpio, we're actually going through our Pluto square right now. And that's very, very important because the Pluto and Scorpio generation is going to be stepping into positions of power and authority in their life. They are going to be getting more involved in politics. We're going to see the Pluto and Scorpio generation getting more involved in politics. We're also going to see the Pluto and Scorpio generation being more involved in like humanities and social justice stuff. Also, the Pluto and Libra generation is going to be very well supported by Pluto and Aquarius. We're going to start to see a lot of the Pluto and Libra generation. They're not going to be focusing so much on the relationships and partnerships, but they're going to be focusing more on like social justice issues and like community and kind of like showing up in the world in a way where they're helping out social systems or they're helping evolve social systems, right? So a lot of the Pluto and Libra people with Pluto going to Aquarius, we're going to see them volunteering and working for nonprofits and working for food drives and working for, the disenfranchised and working for those. So a lot of the Pluto and Libra and Aquarius people, oh, I'm sorry, the Pluto and Libra and Pluto and Scorpio people, they're going to be activated by Pluto and Aquarius and they're going to be very involved politically in how society is transforming and changing. Okay. The Pluto and Sag kids, they're the ones that are going to, they're the ones that are, they're the rebels. They're the ones that are going to burn everything down. That's their job. And the Pluto and Capricorn kids are going to rebuild everything. The Pluto and Capricorn kids are going to show us what the next what the future looks like. They're going to help us rebuild the future or re or build the new society, like structure the new society that's not based off capitalism, that's not based off of money, possibly it's not based off work and jobs. The Pluto and Capricorn kids are going to be um rebuilding everything. Okay? So we need to be mindful of this Pluto and Aquarius. We need to be mindful of this Aquarius season because we're all collectively being invited into the future. And many of us were afraid. We're scared. We're not ready for the future. We're not ready for robots. We're not ready for AI. We're not ready for, you know, technology to take so much precedence or have so much influence in our life. But baby, we're already there. We're already here, my loves. There's no fighting it. There's no resisting it. It's here. The future is here. The future is now. So what do we have to do? Lean in. That's always my thing. It's always one of my favorite phrases is leaning in, okay? Because so many of us, we like to lean out. We don't want to be involved. We just want to be bystanders. We want to be NPCs in our life. We don't want to look at us. No, lean in. Okay? Take the stage. Show up. Be present. Okay? And look forward. I think that's the other thing. I have the North Node and Jupiter and Aries. So even when I walk with a forward tilt, and you'll notice this with Aries people as well. I don't know if any of you are Aries rising or if you have Aries in your chart. These Aries people walk with their head first. And they lean forward. They lean forward like this. They're always walking like this. Okay. I had an ex who was an Aries and he walked like that. It was really funny actually, because I could actually see him walking like that all the time. And because you know what it is, they're forward moving. They're like, okay, what's the next thing? Right? Where do we gotta go? Like Aries is an energy of, okay, all right, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Let's keep going. Like, let's push forward, right? Point A to point B, no detours, right? Aries is the fastest moving sign. It's the most direct sign as well. And so, with that, we have to lean in, my loves. Saturn, Neptune going to Aries this month or this Aquarius season. You gotta lean in. Yeah, and they lead with their head. Aries leads with their head. They always lead with their head. And it's so funny because also, Aries people, they tend to be born early. So this is also another thing. If you're gonna be having an Aries baby, many times they're expected to be a Taurus or they're expected to be a Gemini, but they come early. Usually Aries babies, when they're born, they always come head first. That's another thing. You're always going to see an Aries child coming head first. And they come with the quickness. I have a friend who had an Aries baby, and she said when my Aries baby was born, she flew out like a football. She like spit her out like that. That's what she said. She said it was the quickest birth. It was the fastest birth. She did came early and she was out of there within like 5 minutes. Like the baby was born. Like she was like, I was not in labor for that long. She was like, I'm ready to come. I'm ready to come now because Aries is this energy of like, I gotta go. I got shit to do. It's like, so even when Aries kids are born, they come very fast and they usually come early. A lot of times Aries will also be born premature. You'll see this with Aries placements, with Aries rising, Aries sun, especially. Um, they will be born premature. I have a Taurus baby with a super stellium in Aries, and it was a super quick birth. Happy birthday, friend! He's the ram after all. Head first, always. Yeah. All this tracks. She was early too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny, and it's so funny to see how the energy shows up, how the astrology and the energy of the signs really show up in in people's lived experience. Okay, so let's keep going and let's keep talking about the week. Okay. So, I've been kind of focusing on a lot on like Venus, Pluto, but okay, what else is important this week? Well, there's just so much astrology, my loves, for this week that's important. There's just a lot going on. So, also on Tuesday, as Venus is separating from Pluto and Aquarius, we have a Sun Mercury Cazimi. Okay. A cazimi is when a planet is in the heart of another planet, usually the sun. And so the what's happening with the Sun Mercury cazimi is this Mercury's catching up to the sun, and Mercury's now going to move past the sun and go ahead of the sun. So Mercury catches up to the sun and he bypasses the sun. Okay. But what happens as the sun and Mercury come together, Mercury is renewing his energy, is renewing his contract, is kind of doing an energetic renewal with the sun. So whenever a planet passes through the sun, it's starting a new timeline in relationship to the sun, right? So one of the things, if you track, especially Venus and Mercury retrogrades, one of the things you'll notice is that whenever Venus and Mercury go retrograde, they go backwards. They conjoin the sun during their retrograde, and they go all the way back to the farthest point that they're capable of being from the sun. And then when they go direct, they catch back up to the sun. They do another Kazemi. They do another Kazemi direct, or they do a Kazemi in their direct motion, and then they go ahead of the sun again. Okay. And then they slow down. They get to the farthest point away from the sun for each one of them, respectively, which is different for both. And then they retrograde and they go back and then they do a Kazemi with the sun again. And then they go behind the sun. It's this eternal dance that Venus and Mercury are doing with the sun. Okay. And so when the sun and Mercury are in Cazimi, there's a renewal that Mercury is doing with the sun. So this tells us there's going to be a lot of new things showing up around Mercury. So, Sun, Mercury, Cazimi, people tend to get divine insights and downloads that inspire them, that motivate them. Also, people will tend to change their mind or settle on a decision around something that they've been going back and forth on, right? So, what we're going to be seeing tomorrow and then moving forward as Mercury goes and bypasses the sun, we're going to be seeing a lot of people change their mind about something, or a lot of people make these final conclusive decisions and choices about things that they've been going back and forth with. Okay. There also may be pieces of information that come in that empower us to make a clear choice or a decision in some type of way. Okay. Um, I just want you guys to be aware of any downloads that you get from the sun. Because when Mercury's conjoined the sun and conjunct the sun, Mercury's channeling the divine light of the sun, right? So all of us, the collective consciousness, the collective mind, we're all being illuminated. The sun is illuminating us, giving us a fresh, fresh perspective, new ideas, new ways of seeing things, right? Or even epiphanies, realizations, or we get information that kind of where everything clicks. So I want you guys to I want you guys to be very aware of this tomorrow, starting tomorrow, okay, with the Sun, Mercury, Cazimi. And then what's so interesting is, you know, on Thursday, 2 days later, the Sun and Mercury, well, Mercury first on Thursday, January 22nd, Mercury hits a conjunction with Pluto. And then on Friday, the Sun hits a conjunction with Pluto. So this also kind of tells us that the energy of, okay, so let's just isolate that transit. Mercury conjunct Pluto, what is that about? Well, that's about secret hidden information coming to the surface. That's also about the divulging of information, so, or really intense deep conversations that people want to have to address something that's very deep or very important in their life. Okay. So on Thursday, January 22nd, I want you guys to be aware of this Pluto conjunct Mercury energy. There could be like secret information that you get. There could be a transformative conversation that you have. Someone can divulge a secret to you. Or we can also, Mercury Pluto is also like deep transformative healing conversations as well. So it doesn't have to be something negative. This could also be very, very beneficial and very positive where, you know, I don't know why, but I got it down around someone coming out, Mercury Pluto conjunction. Oh yeah, they tell you, oh yeah, I actually like men or I actually like women, whatever, right? Like, so there's something around the divulging of secret information and things that people have been holding on to for a long time that they need to like let off their chest or that they need to talk about or share with someone else. Because, Pluto is also a planet that invites vulnerability, right? Invites healing through the disbursement of shame by divulging information. So, right, we hold on to a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around things in secrecy. Typically, the things that we are ashamed of, we also keep secret, right? That's a Pluto thing. So the way that we dispel shame many times is by being open and vulnerable and by like bringing the information to the light. Because once we bring the information to the light, whatever we're ashamed of, the shame gets dispelled with truth and with openness and with honesty, right? So I want you guys to think about this on Thursday with Mercury Pluto conjunct. Like, is it possible that there's something in your life, or maybe even there's something someone else wants to kind of like tell you, wants to like divulge something that if you've been holding on to something, you've been keeping a secret, you've been holding on to something that's been you've been feeling guilty about, you've been feeling ashamed about, like how can that openness and that moment of vulnerability allow for healing? Right? Truth is so healing. Let me tell you something. Pluto loves the truth, and Pluto is because he's the planet of the detective, right? Pluto wants to get to the bottom of the truth, wants to get to the bottom of the crime, right? Like what actually happened? What was the motive? What was the drive? Right? What actually happened? Right? Not just hearsay, but what is the truth behind this situation, behind this person, behind this circumstance? So with Mercury Pluto coming into conjunction on Thursday, there may be some truths that need to be divulged. There'd be some truths that need to be revealed in some type of way, so that we could dispel any kind of guilt or shame, or so that we can get to the bottom of things. I want you guys to just be aware of this. Okay. And then Sun Pluto, so that's a whole nother one. Sun Pluto has a lot to do with transformational identity experiences or our leaving our old self behind. Also, like ego death, the spiritual community, we love talking about a good ego death. How many of you have gone through an ego death on your spiritual journey? I'm waving at everybody. Hi, mom. Everybody say hi to mom and dad. Mom and dad are here. I think it's so funny how my parents watch my stuff. It's so funny. You know what's funny? You know, tell you what's funny about my parents tapping in to my work and stuff is my fourth house of family, okay, is ruled by Mercury. I have it in Gemini because I'm Pisces rising. And I have Mercury and the Sun together, okay? So my parents, which are Mercury, okay, they are always tuning in and tapped into me. And they're always like, they're not too far away. Sun, Mercury together in my chart, my fourth house ruler being conjunct my sun. So they always are tapping in and paying attention to what I'm doing, like with my work and my career stuff, because the sun is a planet of like work and career as well, similar to Saturn. The sun and Saturn tell us a lot about our public image and about how we show up in the world, right? So it's just so funny. But yeah, let's see. I'm just looking. You love the rainbow reflection. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I have these beautiful little like reflector things. So when light hits them, they like send rainbows everywhere. They reflect the rainbow coloring everywhere. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. No, that's tea from yesterday. This is the right one. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I was talking about some Pluto. So, identity transformations, right? Like I was saying, how many of you have gone through an ego death? Because some Pluto conjunction in the sky is really about an ego death, having to confront ourselves and having to let go of certain identities, certain ways of being that are no longer serving us, right? We should always be in a state of transformation and change. We should always be working on ourselves. I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you are truly committed to the spiritual path, you understand that the work is never done. You're never going to be fully perfect. You're never going to be, well, you already are perfect, right? We're all loved and perfect in the eyes of God. We're already there. But working on ourselves and becoming the best version of ourselves, self-improvement, six house things, Virgo things, okay? That should be the goal and the dream, Pisces. Okay, that's what the nodes have been trying to show us in Virgo and Pisces is like you got to be constantly working on yourself to be the best version of yourself and to be able to embody your full potential, right? And the work is never over. right? You're always going to uncover an additional layer of trauma. There's always going to be another piece of shadow work that you got to do, another shadow. There's always going to be another bad habit, another bad behavior. There's always going to be something within you that needs transformation and change and healing and that needs to evolve, right? And when we understand this, when we understand this truth that the work is never over, that, you know, our the development of the soul and the development of our ego, it's in a constant state, it's like a constant state of evolution, then we can never get too comfortable within our own skin, right? We can never settle on just, okay, this is who I am and this is how I'm going to be, right? No, we can always be like, okay, all right, what's the next version of me? What's the, yeah, like an onion, exactly. There's always another layer. And let me tell you, just like an onion, the closer you get to the center, the more that you are going to cry. Right? The more tears that are going to be shed because the more that you're going to uncover that's traumatic and that's scary and that's deep and that's, but you know what, underneath it all is your true self. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to dig deep to come back to our inner child, to come back to that innocent, pure, loving, kind, compassionate soul that we were before we came onto this earth and it tainted us. Okay. Before we came onto this earth and we were polluted. Okay. Like, and we were corrupted, right? We came to this earth and this earth corrupted us, unfortunately. So we got to go back to being our pure selves. We got to heal our inner child. We got to come back to the true self, the true form. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because we have the Sun Pluto making a conjunction today or this week on Friday the 23rd. Exactly. Look what Lucy said. The more layers you peel, the deeper you meet yourself, and thus the deeper you meet life and you meet others. Very true. Hence, many more tears. The more vulnerable you could be with yourself, the more honest you can be with yourself, the more you can get to know yourself at a deeper level, that you also give that space and provide that capacity and provide that space for others to do the same. For others to do the same, right? You can only truly meet people as deep as you've met yourself. Now, a lot of times we're craving more depth, and I want you guys to think. I want this is a download I have coming through. So we're craving more depth, we're craving more intimacy, we're craving more love, we're craving more truth in our relationships, right? Many of us are. But we're the ones that has to create that space and that container for our relationships to be able to go that deep. A lot of times we expect our partner to be the one to provide us that safety and security. We expect other people, right, to be vulnerable and to be deep and to like be able to listen to us and hold space for us and be compassionate with us and to understand us. But are we giving that same understanding, that same compassion, that same depth, that same listening? Are we giving that to the people that we love, the people that we care for? Because you cannot receive what you're not able to give, all right? And you are not able to give what you cannot receive. Period. Period, boo. So if we want more intimacy in our relationships, if we want more love in our relationships, if we want more closeness, right, in our relationships, then we gotta be more loving, more intimate, more close with ourselves. We gotta be deeper. We gotta get to know ourselves, right? And we gotta be truthful and honest with who we are. Okay? That's the one thing that many of us don't like. We don't like to be told the truth about our being. And those that truly love us are going to hold a mirror up to us and they're not going to lie to us. Those that don't love us will lie to us all day every day about ourselves and about who we are, you know. And they'll entertain our delusions as well, you know. They won't hold us accountable but when someone truly loves you, when they truly love you and care about you, they tell you the truth. Even if that truth is hard and difficult and sad and heartbreaking sometimes, because the truth ultimately it creates more space for intimacy and closeness. And it allows us to build a foundation of trust. You cannot have trust without truth. Period. The wall of trust is built of bricks of truth, my love. Though the foundation of trust is built of bricks of truth and vulnerability and honesty. Okay. And so we got to be that though. We got to be vulnerable. We got to be truthful. We got to be honest. Because then that empowers our spouse to do the same. It empowers our spouse to do the same or the people that we love. Exactly. If I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things that you do not see. James Baldwin. And one of the things that I always talk about this in astrology, and I always talk about this with the sun. And this is important because we have the sun Pluto coming into conjunction on Friday, January 23rd. Okay. The sun is blind to itself. This is a very important thing to remember about the Leo people that you have in your life as well, or people that have the sun on the rising, or people that are just have a lot of sun stuff going on in their chart. Um, or even if you are someone that is you're very connected to the sun, you have a prominent sun in your chart, the ego, our identity, our perception of who we are, we're blind. We're blind. The ego is blinding. Okay. And let me tell you why. It's because the sun, which is connected to the ego and our sense of self, right? The sun's function is self-preservation, right? The sun's job within us, all of us, we're so proud of our sun. Oh, I'm a Scorpio, I'm a Taurus, when people say that, they're talking about their sun sign, right? Um, we're so proud about our sun sign. We have a lot of pride because the sun is a proud planet. The sun is where pride comes from, because it's the sun's job to keep everything within us centralized, to keep our identity cohesive, right? And I want you to think about this in relation to the planets. The sun is the center of the solar system. Obviously, it's a solar system, and all the planets revolve around the sun. It's the same thing within us. Our heart is our physical sun, and every other organ, every other planet within us, right, orbits around the sun. The heart is the center, and it's the heart's job to keep every other planet in orbit and functioning together and working together to give us a unified sense of self. So when you think of yourself as Michelle, as Louis, as Lucy, as whoever, this identity that you've constructed in your of this concept of self. So when people ask you, "Oh, tell me about yourself, Lucy. Tell me about yourself, Michelle." Right? Tell me about yourself, Louis. And you start telling them about who you are, you're literally telling them your son. That's your son talking, right? But the difficult thing about the sun as well is that it always likes to cast itself as the good guy in its own story, because we are our own hero, right? Like the tarot, the Fool card. We are on the hero's journey. We are always the good guy in our own narrative and our own story. The sun, in the function of the ego, is to protect us from the shadows of the self sometimes, right? But when Pluto comes, so with the sun Pluto aspect, Pluto shows the sun his shadows, right? I always think of Pluto when we're thinking about movies, right? I don't know if you guys have seen the Batman and this narrative between like the Joker and Batman, right? I think Batman is more of an Aquarius archetype than a Leo archetype, but it's a mirror. And what's so interesting about some Pluto stuff, I'm getting to my point, is what happens when all of a sudden Joker holds up a mirror to Batman and is like, wait a minute, maybe you're the bad guy, Mr. Billionaire. Maybe you're the bad guy, and I'm actually the good guy. I'm actually the one trying to liberate people, right? Maybe you're the evil one. So, what's so interesting about Pluto is Pluto calls out the sun, and Pluto is like, wait a minute, maybe you're not the good guy. Look at all your shadows. Look at all the destructive stuff that you do. Look at all that pride. Look at all that arrogance. Look at all that ego. Look at all that selfishness. And look at how you're hurting people around you with your ego. with your pride, with your arrogance. These are all solar qualities, they're all sun things. So what happens is Pluto comes to challenge the sun and be like, wait a minute, you're not so great and so positive as you think. Maybe you're the bad guy. And so when Pluto and the sun are in the sky, we have to kind of, the Joker within us has confronts our inner Batman and is like, wait a minute. You thought you were all great and all good. You thought you were such a good person. Well, what about this? What about this moment when you treated this person this way? What about this manipulation that you're doing? What about this lie and this deceit that you're doing with this person? What about this gaslighting that you're doing with this person? What about, right? We have to confront the shadows of the self. Pluto conjunct the sun in transit, right? You have to confront the shadows of yourself. You have to confront the dark corners of your being that you run away from. Because Pluto conjunct the sun, right, in transit on Friday, January 23rd, offers us the opportunity to invite our shadow self to the table, to bring our shadow, darker self to the light and be like, hey, come take a seat. Let's integrate. Let's talk. Let me get to know my shadow self. And why do I do these darker things? Why do I carry out these shadowy bad habits, these bad behaviors? Why am I mean and neglectful to people, right? Why do I get jealous or envious? Why do I get prideful or arrogant? Why do I feel so entitled, right? These are the things that Pluto conjunct the sun forces us to confront within ourselves. The parts about ourselves that we don't love, that we don't like, that are kind of toxic, that are kind of unhealthy. But guess what? Those parts are about ourselves. We need to fall in love with those parts about ourselves. Because a lot of those things that we do, those negative identity attributes, or those negative personality characteristics, or those negative behaviors, they're rooted in what? Trauma. They're rooted in self protection and self defense. They're rooted in survival consciousness. Survival consciousness, okay? Because a lot of us, we had a childhood where we weren't protected by a mother or a father. So we had to come up with certain ways of being and doing things to survive, to get by. But we carry those with us into adulthood, and all of a sudden, those patterns and those behaviors and those habits are extremely toxic and unhealthy to those that we love. And you don't need those anymore. You don't need those defense mechanisms. You don't need those unhealthy personality characteristics. You don't need that envy and that jealousy and that greed and that obsession. And you don't need that toxicity and stuff, right? They do, yes. Also very important, Natalie, right? Look what Natalie says. Super important. Also, those shadow parts are very powerful and they hold a lot of power over us unconsciously. That's the thing. Because Pluto is what's unconscious and the sun is conscious. The sun is aware. The sun, right? Our soul, the sun. The sun gives us awareness and consciousness, right? We are actually channeling the sun's light. The sun gives you permission to be unto yourself. The sun gave you a name. Oh, you are Louis. You are Michelle, apart from everyone else. Okay? No other being or entity that we know of on this planet, no other animal, has self awareness the way human beings have. It's because the sun has gifted us self awareness, has gifted us an individual will. The sun is the planet of willpower, of our will, our sense of self, our ego, who we are outside of everyone else. The only reason why we can separate ourselves from the cosmos, like consciousness wise, where we can even conceptualize, I am apart from this universe or I am apart and separate from everything, is because of the sun's gift to us, which is individual will and awareness of self. The sun gave us that, right? But there's a lot of shadows. There's a lot of challenges that also come with that as well, with free will, with awareness of self, right? And Pluto invites us to take a look at the shadow self, to take a look at the unconscious self, right? To take a look at our hidden motives, our hidden drives. It's shocking to me actually that the majority of people, I don't know, I want to generalize this, but what I will say, many people don't sit with themselves to see what their driving motives are. A lot of people are just going through life, doing things, doing things, doing things with no awareness on their why, and with no awareness of the inner drives, the inner motives that are pushing these habits and these behaviors and these actions, right? So with Sun Pluto in a conjunction on Friday 23rd, Friday, January 23rd, we're kind of being invited to take a look at our deeper motives. Take a look at our deeper self. Why is it that we do the things that we do? What are the hidden drives? And can we bring these things to the surface? Can we bring some light and illumination to the deeper, darker, shadowy parts about ourselves so that we can what? Transform it, change it, heal it. That's the invitation. So we could transform and change and heal it, right? I did say that this was going to be a very intense week in astrology and a very busy week in astrology because we have all these planets going into Aquarius. We have Saturn and Neptune going into Aries, and they're all going through Pluto at the same time. Okay. So here we are. We're an hour in already, and we're barely talking about the Sun Pluto conjunction. All right. So, but yeah, I think what's also really interesting is as Mercury and Venus pull ahead of the sun this week and they're separating from the sun, we're going to see a lot of kind of like new directions around Mercury Venus things, relationships, connections, jobs, new jobs, new work opportunities, kind of like new things coming or people beginning or starting new things or being prepared and ready to like go in a new direction in some type of way. It's going to be a very, very strong theme that we're going to be feeling, especially beginning this week, all month long, really, because also Saturn's entering Aries. Saturn and Neptune are entering Aries, right? So, okay. So that was Friday, January 23rd. I was talking about the Sun Pluto conjunction. Okay. And then let's take a look. Oh, and then also what happens on Friday is Mars goes into Aquarius. Okay. Mars in Aquarius. Okay, so this is my one of the things I've noticed. I think Mars in Aquarius is a very strong position for Mars. And Mars in Aquarius is about technological advancement and AI and like information wars. And it's about technology being used in a way that it's like technology being used for war in some type of way, right? Um, in like digital warfare and like social warfare, like, war happening through social media and the manipulation of social media and stuff like that. Okay. But one of the things I've noticed with Mars and Aquarius, who has this, who has Mars and Aquarius natally, and they're obsessed with going to Mars. They are obsessed with technology. Okay, they're I think the most richest person in the world right now, and they are solely responsible for advancing technology on multiple fronts in our lifetime. You guys know who I'm talking about? This person has the North Node and Mars in Aquarius. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? This person is a trillionaire at this point, but it's a very strong placement for Mars. Very, very strong placement for Mars. It's and they have it actually together. They have it North Node Mars together. Yep, Elon Musk. Elon Musk has the North Node in Mars and Aquarius, and this man has been and Venus and Gemini with Saturn and Gemini, which is why he's like kind of like a technological genius. And he's like, bringing the robots and all this stuff. It's the Saturn, Venus, and Gemini, and also the North Node Mars and Aquarius, and that combination that he has between those two that kind of make him like a super nerd. And he also has a Virgo moon. You guys know how I feel about Virgo moon guys, and I'm just kidding. Or Virgo men with Virgo placement. Definitely a sex addict. This guy, Elon Musk, he's an addict in a lot of different ways, but he's definitely a sex addict. He has a North Node in Mars in the eighth house, which tells us that he has like desires and passions that are like and cravings that are so intense that like are hard to resist. Like he has North Node and Mars together in the eighth house. So this is like insatiable desires, insatiable cravings. Like there's never going to be enough money. There's never going to be enough success for him. This guy's always going to desire more, 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 more. That's what happens when people have North Node and Mars together. But especially in the eighth house, or when it's in the eighth house or the second house. Yeah, he's a sex addict for sure. That's why he's got all these baby mamas. Um, but yeah, so with Mars and Aquarius, Elon Musk is going through his Mars return. So when Mars was in Leo, what was interesting, when Mars was in Leo last year, and we had a Mars retrograde in Leo. Do you guys remember that? It was during the Mars retrograde in Leo as well. When Mars was in Leo, you guys know what happened with Elon Musk? When Mars in Leo was opposing his Mars in Aquarius, you guys remember what happened? He had a fallout with Donald Trump. That's when him and Donald Trump broke up. It was literally during the Mercury retrograde in Leo when Mars was in Leo directly opposing his natal Mars in Aquarius. Is when Elon Musk and Donald Trump had their fallout. And when like Dodge and all that stopped and like he exited the government and everything. He was ostracized from the government. Mars and Aquarius ostracized from the government, right? He was ostracized from the government and kicked out. Yeah, he fell out with Trump. And so I'm kind of expecting more of that with Mars and Aquarius over the next. It takes Mars about 4, 5, 6, about 7 to 8 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks to transit a sign, depending. So I'm expecting some more challenges to authority figures and more like, you know, leaders falling out and stuff like that with Mars and Aquarius. But there's going to be a lot of like informational technological advancement and like new technologies being released and stuff like that. But with Mars Pluto coming into conjunction, I'm getting a download around technological warfare. And I'm getting a download around like a new war beginning or starting or something, or we're gonna see another revolution. Iran is going through an evolution right now, a revolution. It's just been, I swear, countries have just been like, it's been like dominoes. It's like, oh, this country's having a revolution. Oh, now this country's having a revolution. Oh, now this country's having a revolution. It's like just like this been this it's like this Pluto and Aquarius energy showing up so strong. It's just like all these countries are just like toppling and going through like a revolution. And it's just so fascinating to see. But we're gonna see a lot more of that, a lot more of that this Aquarius season, especially with Mars going to Aquarius with the Sun and with Pluto. We have Sun at 4. So I'm looking at Saturday, January 24th. We have Sun at 4, Pluto at 3, and Mars at 1 degrees. And the Sun and Mars are sitting right next to Pluto. And these are all planets of power and authority. Pluto and the Sun and Mars, they all like to do their own thing. And they all don't like to be told what to do. And they all like to tell the other person what to do. Like Pluto likes to tell the sun what to do, right? And the sun likes to tell Pluto what to do. I always think of Sun Pluto as like the fight between like Zeus and Hades. The sun is the archetype of Zeus. Well, actually Apollo, but the sun is also an archetype of Zeus because he's like the king of the heavens, where Pluto is god of the underworld, is Hades, right? And there's this battle between like light and dark, between like the good and the bad, between like heaven and hell. That's a very Sun Pluto thing. And so, with that being said, then Mars is like the mercenary, right? Mars is like the warrior, the soldier that goes to war for either one of them. So I'm just thinking that there's going to be like collective battles for power and like overthrows of government and stuff, but this could also manifest in our own life where, you know, we just had a new moon in Aquarius, a new moon in Capricorn that was trying Uranus. We have all this Aquarius energy that we're stepping into, where people kind of want to like liberate themselves or free themselves in some type of way from relationships, from situations, from connections, from jobs that are keeping them in a state of disempowerment or that are keeping them in a state of like disconnect or where they're like being neglected and they're like not being heard or seen or valued or appreciated. This energy is really going to push us to like release ourselves from these things and to free ourselves. Aquarius energy really pushes us towards liberation. It pushes us towards autonomy and it pushes us towards like personal independence and stuff like this, right? So we're really going to be feeling that this week with Mars, Pluto, and the Sun all stacked up on top of each other, all coming close together. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the moon. It's 1:17. We're about an hour and a half in. But let's talk about the moon and let's talk about some other aspects because there's just like a lot of astrology going on right now. Let me see if there's anything else that I missed. Hold on, let me take a look. Oh yeah, and then also before I actually talk about the moon, oh actually, so yeah, I'll mention this. I'll talk about it on the week ahead for next week, but Neptune does go into Aries this on January 26th on Monday. So I'll talk more about Neptune and Aries next week in general, on next week's week ahead. But yeah, I just want you guys to be aware of this. The moon does go, or Neptune does go into Aries on January 26th, Monday of next week. All right. All right, but let's talk about the moon transit. So the moon is going to be going through, the moon just entered Aquarius. We had a late degree Capricorn new moon last night or yesterday. It was actually in the afternoon. It wasn't last night. And the moon's gonna is transiting Aquarius now. So the moon's in Aquarius today and tomorrow. And then the moon goes into Pisces on Wednesday. So the moon's gonna be in Pisces Wednesday, Thursday, and then it goes into Aries Friday, Saturday. And then on Sunday, it goes into Taurus. So we have the moon going through Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries this week. Okay. And then it ends up in Taurus. Um, so let's talk about this. Aquarius and Pisces are kind of difficult places for the moon. Okay. Another thing about the moon going through Aquarius. So the moon going through Aquarius, it's ruled by Saturn, who is about to exit Pisces, right? In the next couple weeks. So I'm feeling like with the moon in Aquarius being ruled by a Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces, the moon in Aquarius today, tomorrow can have us feeling a little confused or have us feeling like we're in a daze or in a fog. There can also be very particular things around our dreams. We may also, just be feeling excessively emotional, excessively sad. This can be a very depressive energy. The moon going through Aquarius and Pisces tends to be a little sad, a little heavy, a little difficult. The moon likes being in Pisces, but it does struggle there because the moon struggles with a lack of boundaries with others and a lack of, it's like the moon has no protective shell when it's in Pisces. Anybody have a Pisces moon here? You probably know this. You have no emotional or psychic boundaries with others. And there is this when people have a Pisces moon, they just like care too much about everyone and everything. And they're just like excessively sensitive and it's really difficult sometimes for them to just be in a room full of people or to be in very busy public spaces because they get very emotionally drained or emotionally exhausted because they're able to feel everything around them. They're able to like collectively tap into the energy and sometimes what they're feeling and what they're absorbing, it's not their own, it's from their environment, right? Like so a Pisces moon, if they're living in a really toxic home environment, they can actually end up getting very physically sick or physically ill. And so, a lot of Pisces moon people and Aquarius moon people, okay, I think this is something that both of these moon placements have in common. They tend to isolate and they tend to kind of be to themselves and they love their alone time because they're so intuitively, psychically, emotionally sensitive that being in the world and being around a lot of other people's energy, it exhausts them and it drains them. Okay. And they want to escape into their own reality, they want to be in their own energy to recuperate and re-energize. And so with the moon in Aquarius and Pisces this week, up until the weekend when the moon goes into Aries. We may need this recluse. I mean, come on, it's winter time. We may need this reclusive energy. May need to just really be with ourselves and be present with ourselves and like rest and reflect and really lean into solitude so that we can kind of heal or we can re-energize ourselves in some type of way. I know this new moon in Capricorn that had a Mercury Mars conjunction is about kind of was is like trying to initiate us into like a new beginning. But I really feel like it's planning season. It's not necessarily. execution season yet. Okay. It's not really go out there and make the dream happen. It's more about like, okay, let's look at the drawing board. Let's look at the vision board. Let's look at the plan. Let's look at the blueprint and let's see what needs to be modified or updated, or let's see what timeline we can create so that, you know, we can plan for what 2026 is going to be at like for us so we can achieve that goal or that dream, right? I think it's better right now to kind of rest, reflect, plan, reorganize, restructure, and blueprint, and kind of get your day to day together. Just the simple things, the foundation, the structure of your day to day, so that, whatever your day to day looks like, it could be building towards that bigger vision, that bigger dream, right? Also, I'm getting a download around people really focusing on like things that they're passionate about, like skills, talents, arts and crafts, music, dance, into like skills, like things that we can do and things that we want to master. So maybe you want to become a master writer. Maybe you become a master poet. Maybe you want to become a master musician. Maybe you want to master, maybe you want to get a master's, get a PhD. Okay. If that's what you want to do, you got to create space for that in your life every day so that you can become a master at it. Right. And this is one of the things I tell people. What has made me good at astrology is the fact that I do it every day. Because you will eventually, when you do something every day and you do it consistently, okay, you are eventually going to master it. You're going to become great at it. And let me tell you what Saturn does, right? Saturn, he gives you mastery through experience, not through study. Jupiter gives you wisdom through study. So Jupiter is going to college and studying something for 4 years, right? So a lot, right? You go to college because you want to be a lawyer. So you study being a lawyer. You get all the philosophy, you get all the culture, you get all the knowledge of what it means to be a lawyer. That's Jupiter. But the experience of being a lawyer, the actual job, the work experience, going out in the field and being a lawyer for people every day, that is Saturn. That's Saturn. Because Saturn teaches you through experience. You can't learn Saturn things unless you endure it and experience it and go through it. And that's where mastery comes from. Because mastery is the application of knowledge and wisdom and and a and an aspiration of perfection of the craft and being the best of the best. This is why Capricorn is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Saturn. Okay? It's because, and you'll see this, like there's so many of the greatest Olympians, so many of the greatest basketball players. I've looked at a lot of basketball players' charts because um, I love my parent. I like come from a basketball family. But the greatest athletes, Capricorn placements. LeBron James, a Capricorn, one of the best athletes. I even think Kobe Bryant had Capricorn placements. Was he a Capricorn? I think he had Virgo stuff. He was a Virgo. Oh, he didn't have no Capricorn. He was a Virgo, yeah. But he had those are the Saturn and Virgo men that have like, or people that have the Saturn and Virgo, they want to be like the best at what it is. They're like they're perfectionists. I've done readings for men that have this Saturn and Virgo thing going on. Yeah, he has Sun conjunct Saturn. So you see mastery, wanting to be the best at something. Look at Kobe Bryant, even though he wasn't a Capricorn, he was a Virgo with the Sun conjunct Saturn. So he was a Saturn guy. And it's this idea that I gotta be the best. I gotta work hard. I gotta be consistent. I gotta do it every day to become a master, right? To become the best. Let me see what Natalie said. I was thinking of time as a resource. Yes, it is. Not as in time passing that leads to mastery, but time spent and invested wisely. Yes, because that's what Saturn tells us, right? What you invest your time in, you become. What you invest your time in, you perfect. What you invest your time in pours back into you, right? And whatever you are putting your time into consistently, right, that investment of time is going to pay dividends. It creates mastery, right? So, with that being said, as we're going through this new moon and Capricorn cycle, think about what in your life do you want to become great at? Do you want to become a master at? And let me tell you one of the beautiful things about, because I have a Capricorn moon. I know this very well. This is like the reason why whatever I do, it doesn't matter what it is. Whatever I do, I'm going to become the greatest at. I'm going to become the best at it. It's an inevitable thing. It just happens because my Capricorn moon and my 10th house Saturn on the MC drives me to being the best and to like figuring it out and to like perfecting it. It's like this, it's like I feel driven. Capricorn moon things. I feel driven to like figure it out and to like master it, you know? So that's why when I was in banking, I was like a number one person, you know? I was like the best in the office. It's because I have a very strong Saturn imprint in my chart and I feel called to like figuring something out and like perfecting it and like being the best at it, you know? It's just this compulsive thing within me. I can't help it, right? But I'm also very consistent and I'm also very structured in the way that I approach um, whatever my passions. And so I do, you know, two readings, three readings a day. Not everyone is capable of that workload. Not There's a lot of astrologers or spiritual workers that do not do readings daily, let alone two or three readings a day like I do. But it's my Capricorn moon that gives me this resilience and this sense of responsibility. And I like show up and it's like, oh, I want to work hard. I feel driven to working hard. There was days where I used to do 4 or 5 readings back in the day. I would do 4 or 5 readings in a day and I literally just push myself to the limit. I like it's a compulsive thing. It's a Capricorn moon thing. I gotta test myself. I gotta see how many readings can I do in a day, you know? Like I gotta push myself to the limit, right? And I think even Capricorn energy, it's like we want to exhaust ourselves sometimes. We want to really deplete ourselves just to see what we're capable of. You know, it's crazy. It is. It sounds insane. It sounds crazy, but this is what Saturn does. Saturn pushes you towards this. This is the energy of Saturn when we embody the energy of Saturn, right? So I want you guys to really think about this during this new moon and Capricorn cycle over the next few weeks, this week and next week. What in your life can you invest time and energy into, money into, resources into, so that you become the best at it, so you could perfect something or master a craft in some type of way? And let me tell you something. If oh yeah, of course it leads to burnout. Yes, of course, yeah. Already said if not balanced, Capricorn energy can lead to also burnout. Same thing with Virgo energy. Yes, very true. I have gone through cycles of this where I'm like working really hard and I'm like hitting the paint and I'm doing tons of readings for like a month or two or three, and then all of a sudden I crash and burn, and I'm like, okay, no more readings. I need a break. I need a vacation. Like I'm done. Right? So there it does come at a cost. It's all about balance. It's all about, you know, you can't do too much. Another person of physical mastery is David Goggins, Aquarius Sun and Mars of Capricorn. He's known for his discipline and willpower. Yes. I don't even know who David Goggins is. Let me see. Let me look him up real quick. This man is giving, he looks like an alien. This is an alien. This man is not from this planet. Look at this man. He's such an Aquarius. This man's an alien. Build a website. This man is not from this planet. Look at this guy. Let me show you guys really quick. Hold on. Look at him. This is David Goggins, an alien. Look at those eyes. Look at that. Look at that head. This man is not from Earth. This man is here to share some alien consciousness with us. Okay? He's even shaped like an alien. Oh my goodness. Let me look at his birth chart really quick. He is such an Aquarius. I like when someone is truly aligned with their Aquarian energy, they really allow their inner alien to come through. They really do. We got a time chart for him. Oh, he's in Aquarius rising. Yeah, and he's got a Saturn Mars aspect. So he's got Saturn and Cancer opposite his Mars and Capricorn. And even though he's an Aquarius, he's a Cancer. That's why he's bald. Because he's an Aquarius rising with Mercury, Sun also in Aquarius. But all this Aquarius energy is pulling from a sixth house Saturn and Cancer. So it's the sixth house energy as well that we're seeing. This is the Virgo energy coming in. Day-to-day perfection. I guarantee you, this guy wakes up at 4 in the morning and he goes to bed like at 7 at night. And he has like a very structured routine day. Okay. And this is like, it's like, this is what he does every day. It's like consistent. It's like the same thing. It's the Mars in Capricorn. It's a sixth house Saturn, and it's the sixth house Saturn ruling over the Aquarius rising with Saturn, Mercury, and the ascendant all in Aquarius. You know? She's meant the same. And last year, a teacher had said something to her, "Where are you from?" She's meant the same. Yeah. It's so interesting. Yeah, this guy, he's like an alien. This guy's not from Earth, actually. He's actually one of the original humans. He's like a moon person. He's from the moon. David Goggins is from the moon, you guys, and he's a very old soul, but he's also got some like alien stuff going on. This guy's got some alien blood. This guy is definitely like Palladian or something. He's got something. He's got Uranus square the ascendant. So this guy's definitely he's got some non-human bits to his spirit. He's got some non-human bits to his spirit. I looked at that chart and I'm like, oh, there's an alien. There's an alien. This man's. I also think Nikola Tesla was an alien too. Nikola Tesla was an alien. You can see that in his chart. They got some alien imprint in their chart. Anyways, let's get back to talking about the astrology of the week. But yes, like David Goggins, yeah, for sure. Yeah, mastery and self-discipline and self-control and stuff like that. Oh wait, I didn't even read about him. I just looked at his chart. Let me see. Hold on, really quick. Oh, he was a Navy SEAL. That makes a lot of sense. This man was he's a 12th house Mars in Capricorn. This man was a Navy SEAL. He was doing hidden secret missions overseas. And what's so interesting about him being a Navy SEAL is he has tons of Pisces placements and he has Uranus and Scorpio. So that's where we get the Navy piece, the water element piece. And he has Saturn in Cancer. So he's got a lot of water placements. So this is why he's kind of like where it's like working in water. We're working around water. He's also like a swimmer, right? Yeah, he's like I bet this man's amazing. He's Atlantean, which so that's the download I actually got from him. He's Atlantean. This guy, his soul. He's had many lives as an Atlantean man. This is why he's like so good at swimming. Me too. I'm an Atlantean spirit as well, or I've had lives in Atlantis, so that's why I'm really good at swimming. Because we're like the Atlanteans, we're kind of like mer people in a way. They're part mer person. Very, very connected to the water and the oceans. And he's got a lot of water. Look at Saturn in Cancer. He has Venus, Jupiter conjunct in Pisces. And he's got Uranus and Scorpio squaring his ascendant. And he has Uranus and Scorpio also opposite the moon. So yeah, like this guy's well, I think the Atlanteans were part alien. Okay, this is my philosophy, and we could talk about this some other time. This is the week ahead astro, but this is what I believe, okay? I believe that there's many cultures, human culture, like human past human cultures or societies or peoples that have come into contact with aliens. And aliens share their technology and their wisdom with us. And for some of us, actually, the aliens actually bred with us, actually procreated with us. So this is why we have like various types of humans, okay? And why some human beings have blood that cannot be traced. There's like a blood type that is not found in nature. Some humans have a blood type that's not even from this earth. And they can't figure it out where it came from. Well, that's because they're in past cultures, past human societies, there's been inbreeding with not I don't know if breeding, there's been breeding with aliens. And the Atlanteans were one of them. you know? So yeah, that's why we have, you know, going back in humanity, there's like narratives or stories of, the breeding with aliens. Like that's just it is what it is, right? So yeah. Okay. All right. Anyways, let's get back to astrology. Okay. Because I'll start talking about this, and maybe we'll be here for another 4 hours. Okay. And we're not gonna get there. But this man's definitely an alien, okay? I'll tell you this. His name is David Goggins. So I'll read a little overview about him so you guys can kind of know who he is. So David Goggins is an American motivational speaker, author, and retired United States Navy SEAL. He's an ultra marathon runner, ultra distance cyclist, and triathlete, and was induced into the International Sports Hall of Fame in 2019 for both his achievements in sports and his service in the United States Armed Force. This man don't sleep. Take a nap, David. Aren't you tired? Damn. Aren't you tired? Don't you need some rest? Take a nap, buddy. How are you doing all this? I'm on his Wikipedia right now. There's too much. I mean, you're just doing too much, David. Take a breather, my friend. Take a chill pill. Okay? Making me look bad. Watch a clip of him talking, please. Someone said, "I that explains vampires, wolf and funny creatures due to." Oh yeah, like vampires. Okay, so vampires and werewolves are connected to the sign of Scorpio and connected to the moon. Do I believe that there's possible there's been vampires or werewolves, yes, but I think it's more of the archetypal energy of Scorpio and how there are people that have vampiric energy. There's also people that have werewolf energy. Werewolf energy is more connected to Aries and Mars, but vampire energy is connected to Scorpio. These are also like, the werewolf, the vampire, these are archetypes as well of the signs. And these like these creatures, these mythological creatures, I'll say, the werewolf, the vampire, same thing with like druids or same thing with elves and fairies, they're archetypes of the signs. And there are entities or energies that have more than likely existed or that exist in other planes. But I don't know if they're here now per se. Okay. But I do believe that there are fairies, and I think there's celestial spirits or celestial energies that do exist in just behind the veil, but we can't see them because they're very high vibrational beings, and our eyes cannot see, them, but our heart and our spirit, and maybe if we are open enough and spiritually evolved enough, we are able to see them. Okay. I've seen some very interesting things. I will tell you this. I believe I've seen some very interesting things. Okay. All right. Anyways, let's talk about the astrology. Let's finish up with astrology. It's already 1:41, so I want to be here all day. I actually got two readings to do today, so I got some readings coming up. So, okay. So the moon in Aquarius, this whole David Goggins thing started off with me talking about the moon in Aquarius. So moon in Aquarius, today and tomorrow, social connection, liberation from certain relationships or partnerships, our friends or friend groups that we operate in. The Aquarius season is starting, with moon in Aquarius first, and the sun goes into Aquarius on Wednesday. So yeah, but also I just want you guys to be very mindful with moon in Aquarius, new moon in Capricorn, Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius and Capricorn, about to leave Pisces and going to Aries. We're kind of like wrapping things up. This is like an energy of closure and release and endings. I want you guys, even though it's a new moon and Capricorn cycle that we're in, Saturn is at the end degrees of, Pisces and about to go into Aries. So I really want to reinforce this, okay? But then on Wednesday, so on Wednesday, the moon is going to enter Pisces around evening time, around like 7, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And the moon's going to hit the north node, and then the moon's also got to pass through Saturn and Neptune so the moon's going to hit the north node on Wednesday, going into Thursday. Then on Thursday, going into Friday, the moon's actually going to hit Saturn and Neptune and then go into Aries. So with the moon in the north node and the moon going through Saturn and Neptune, Wednesday, Thursday, going into Friday, this can be about karmic experiences that are connected to the nodes. And also, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm just gonna bring it up because it just came to me. This whole thing about 2016. Do you guys do you guys know about this? There's been this whole trend around like going back to 2016 and because whatever happened then could be happening now in some type of way. This whole thing with like 2016, have you guys heard about this? You know who got that started, I think? What's her name? There's an astrologer. She's a big astrologer. Uh, Eliza? I think Eliza got this started. She was the one that started talking about going back to 2016 to like see what the fuck was going on. And do you guys know why? Do you guys know why Eliza I always want to call her Eliza Minnelli, but her name is not Eliza Minnelli. It's Eliza Kelly or something. Oh yeah, it is Eliza Kelly. Yeah, yeah. Do you guys know why she was talking about that? Why she was Yep, Meg answered it. Distant Light answered it. The nodes. So back in 2016, we had the South Node in Pisces and the North Node in Virgo. So the nodes go through a 9.5 year cycle. Every 9.5 years, they go back to where they were at, just opposite. So this is like a reverse, this would technically be a reverse nodal return from the nodes being from the south node being in Pisces and the north node being in Virgo. So what happens, the reason why we're going back to 2016 is because astrology shows us that time is cyclical and that what has happened before shall happen again. It'll be a little bit different. Maybe the characters are different. Maybe the scenery is different, right? Maybe the narrative is a little different in some type of way, but the essence of the story and the experience may be similar or very much exactly the same. So the reason why we want, Eliza Kelly was telling everyone to go look at 2016 and whatever you were going through in 2016, because there can be a karmic repercussion. There could be a karmic echo of whatever was going on back then in 2016. Okay. Um, but this is going to be important. This has been important though. Like, it's funny how it's coming up now, but this energy of like going back to 2016 and even going back into like the beginning of 2017 and all of 2016, we've already been in that energy all year, all 2025, because the nodes have already been going through Pisces and Virgo. So what I would invite you to take a look at is also take a look at 2025 and see how 2016 and 2017 there could have been some echoes or there could have been some mirroring or there could have been a continuation of some kind of narrative or story or something from that time. Okay. Um, Back in 2016, and you know what, a good practice also, if you don't remember what was going on in 2016, go back to your phone and take a look at your pictures from that time. Or go take a look at text messages from that time that you had with key people, or even go take a look at if you like keep a journal or anything like that, go take a look at that to see what could be echoing or what could be mirrored around that time or what could be reflected at that time, okay? The reason why I disagree I'm gonna say the reason why I disagree with this whole 2016 thing is because there were planets involved at that time that are not involved this time around. And there was planets involved in this time that made the experience back then a little bit more difficult, a little bit more hard, but in different reasons, for different reasons. Okay. At this time in 2016, which is so interesting actually, Saturn was in Sagittarius. Okay. The South Node was in Pisces and the North Node was in Virgo. So with Saturn in Sag and Saturn squaring the nodes, there were karmic challenges and difficulties that we were going through at that time, but they weren't as sad. They weren't as heavy, okay? Because this time around, we have the nodes transiting with Saturn. So the nodal square from Saturn is challenging. That's what we were having in 2016, Saturn and Sag squaring the nodes in Pisces and Virgo. But here now, into 2026, we have Saturn actually with the nodes. We have Saturn actually with the North Node. So a few downs I'm getting around this. Whatever could have started or began in 2016 could be coming to a finish or a conclusion now in 2026. Okay. Whatever karmic issues or struggles that you dealt with around your Sagittarius house, your Pisces house, your Virgo house, or whatever can be reflected or mirrored. It could show up again with your Pisces house and your Virgo house, but not necessarily your Sagittarius house because Saturn is no longer in Sagittarius. Saturn is transiting Pisces, right? What's also really interesting is I do think these nodes are, I think the nodes going through Pisces and Virgo have been more challenging, and I also think the nodes going through Pisces and Virgo back in 2016 was more challenging and more difficulty and more tragic or more hard. Or there were things around responsibility and obligation that were tied to the nodes, the lessons that we have to learn there because of Saturn's involvement with the nodes, right? We don't always get a conversation or we don't always get a contact with the nodes in Saturn, right? The nodes are chaotic. The nodes filter our karmic experience and they kind of push us forward in a new direction, but they also pull us away from things and they throw us into chaos a lot of times, right? But when Saturn is also working with the nodes, right, it tends to be even more tragic or more hard or more difficult or more sad or more heavy or more cumbersome and just like there's more of a struggle. And so I think that can be a very similar thing. Whatever was hard or difficult about 2016 and 2017 could also be very hard and difficult in 2025 and 2026. And there could be some kind of mirror, some kind of echo that's happening. Okay. Yeah, so but this is going to be focusing on Pisces and Virgo things. So, there could be health issues from 2016 that show up again now. Okay, there could be weird job experiences or intense job changes that you went through back then that change now. There could also be, let's say you got hired in 2016 at a job, and now 2026 you're getting promoted at that job because you're going through your 7 year hump. So now it's time for you to mature and grow up and take on more authority. That could be a good experience with the nodes and with Saturn from 2015 to 16 to 2025 to 2026, right? There could be some kind of karmic evolution of something that you started or something that you began in 2015, 16 that's actually evolving or leveling up now in 2025, 2026, okay? So I just want you guys to think about this. I think this was my Saturn return. So for those of you that were born 87, 88, 86, 87, 88, you have Saturn in Sagittarius, like myself, more than likely. And we were going through a Saturn return. So I actually do believe this was the year that I got fired from Chase. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got fired from Chase, my first banking job, during my Saturn return. And then I got fired again 3 years later when Jupiter went into Sag and hit my Saturn. 2.5 years, 3 years later, I got fired again. Because Saturn was like, nope, this isn't for you, buddy. Jupiter and Saturn double team me. They were like, nope, this whole banking thing, not for you. Nope, nope, nope. You already did this. I will never forget when I was working at my credit union job. The third time. I got a third job at the credit union. Okay. After I gotten fired from the bank, I got fired from the credit union, and then I went back to the credit union, working for a credit union the third time. I remember looking at my chart, and I remember sitting at work and like just sitting there. I was looking at my chart, and I just got this download. I was like, "Fuck! I've already been a banker." I was like, "I've already done this before." But the download that I got that was like I was a merchant and I was someone that sat and like so when ships would come in, I would go ahead and assign value to the things that they stole from other places. Like so I was like an assessor. I would assign value to things that ships like conquerors would bring in. And I'd be like, okay, this is the value of this, and this is what this goes for, and this is like what you could sell this for. And I was like a businessman, like a merchant, okay, of like goods and stuff like this. And so I got this download and I was sitting at the bank. I was like, damn, I've already been a merchant. I've been a banker. I've done this before. This isn't for me. And then I realized when I was looking at my South Node in Libra, my Mars in Libra in the eighth house, I was like, this is actually what I'm not supposed to do. This is why this is going to keep being taken away from me. Because being someone that like deals with others financially, that's a South Node in Libra in the eighth house thing, and that's where my Mars is at. And the spirit told me, you've already done this before. You're not here to do this again. You're not here to do this anymore. And if you do this, you're going to keep experiencing loss. You're going to keep feeling exhausted and tired. You're never going to get paid what you're worth. You're always going to feel undervalued. And then literally like a week or two later, I put in my 2 weeks and I went full time with being a reader and being an astrologer and a tarot reader. And yeah, so you know, I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe for me, this might be another evolution of work and career in some type of way. I really do think that the nodes and these eclipses are pushing me because it's I'm also going through a Saturn square with Saturn and Pisces square my natal Saturn and Sag, um, an evolution of work and career, and and what that next level is going to look like for me. I think that's what this is going to be about for me, right? But you got to figure out what that's going to be for you. And I can help you out with figuring out what that could be for you if you book a reading with me and we go over this in your chart. I would love to help you figure this out, okay? Because that's what I do. I love helping people. And that's one of the things that banking did for me. I've realized the reason why I had to work in banking is because working in banking taught me how to work with people. And it taught me how to be very vulnerable and very open with people. And it taught me how to ask questions and it taught me how to build relationships, intimate relationships with others. That's the reason why I was in banking, because I had to learn how to be confident when I showed up in the space of servicing people. When I originally started banking, I was very, very insecure. I had a lot of self-doubt and I was not very so if someone had money, oh my God, I'd get all stressed out and all anxious and I'd be like all intimidated by them. But working in banking for so many years actually taught me to see everyone as an equal and to treat everyone equally. It doesn't matter how much money someone has, and to not feel intimidated by people, and to really show up confidently in that space of one-on-one connection, one-on-one relationship, especially in the realm of business. It taught me to be confident and self-assured in like my ability to help others and serve others, right? And so that translated into this work that I'm doing today because I'm able to as a reader now I'm able to like sit there and profile and kind of ask people questions and kind of create this container of space and openness and trust, right? And connection because I learned that in banking. Banking taught me that. And that's why I think like many readers like astrologers, tarot readers, psychics, whatever, they have the gift but they don't have the social skills. They don't have the gift of human connection and human communication and like really being able to sit there and be present with someone because they're so insecure. There's a lot of self-doubt, right? So for me, working in banking, I learned to hold space for people. I learned to listen. I learned to I've always been a people pleaser, but I was able to channel that people pleasing into something constructive, right? So yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough to be a great astrologer, tarot reader, a great psychic, a great medium. It's not enough because you also got to be able to connect and hold space for people because that's when you're really going to be able to allow the magic and your talents to come through. What I've noticed, I've gone to readers as well. And one of the quickest things I could pick up with another reader if I'm getting a reading is when they don't believe in themselves and they don't trust in themselves and they doubt themselves. I could feel it so strongly. And I can feel that anxiety and that nervousness and that insecurity. And one of the things with me, and for those of you that have gotten readings by me, one of the things you'll notice with me is like when I give you a reading, I show up and I'm never lacking in confidence. I always show up with a smile on my face and with energy, and I'm very sure of my craft. I'm very sure of my talent and my gift, right? And that confidence allows it to come through very clearly. It allows our work to come through very, very clearly. We got to really believe in ourselves. We got to be confident. We got to, when we show up and servicing others, we really got to be able to take up that space and be able to guide people, right? Through the experience of what it is to get a reading or what it is to have energy healing or whatever, right? And take ownership of the situation because then that allows our intuition and our gifts and all that stuff to come through so strongly so that we can share our talents and our gifts with others, right? And this is with anything. If you're an artist, if you're a musician, if you are a public speaker, if you want to be a motivational, if you want to be a life coach, you have to be able to show up confidently with your clients. And this is the other beautiful thing about mastery when we're talking about Capricorn energy, right? When you have mastered something and when you know you're truly great at something, you're able to be confident in sharing it with others, right? So if you know deep down inside you're a great musician, you're a great tarot reader, you're a psychic, you know and you believe and you know that you're a psychic, guess what? You will embody those things and other people will be able to receive that magic and that healing and that wisdom and all that divine, beautiful stuff that you've been gifted, right? So I just want you guys to think about this, okay? Because it's really important. Like there's so many talented, gifted people. They're like just gifted. Like when I'm not even talking about just like with tarot and astrology and psychic stuff. I'm also talking about like just raw talent with like music and art and like fashion and creativity, right? But developing the confidence to share that talent and that magic with others is a whole nother thing. A lot of people, they have the talent, but they don't have the confidence to share it. They have the magic, but they don't have that faith in self to share that magic with others. And that's where it matters most. That's what's most important. So it's like you could be an amazing psychic, but if you cannot sit down with someone and give them a reading and be confident and feel happy and feel at ease when you're giving that reading, you're gonna tell yourself, "Oh, I'm a bad psychic. Oh, I'm not able to do this." No, it's because you're not comfortable, you're not secure, you haven't developed confidence with your gift and in sharing that and connecting with others. And that's so important. The human element of it, the connection piece, and developing confidence in relating to others and connecting with others is just as important, if not more important, than the gift and the talent and the magic itself. Very, very, very important. And this is why I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is why my calendar is always booked. This is why I'm booked out a month or 2 months. It's because it's not just the astrology, it's also how I present my work. It's how I hold space for people in a reading. It's how I style my readings. Like these are all things that I think about. These are all things that I'm very intentional about. You know what I mean? And I'm really, really, I would just want to give people a really good experience whenever they get a reading by me. I want them to come away with something of value. I want them to feel valued. I want them to feel appreciated. I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel like clarity. I want to give them clarity, right? That's my goal. It's not about me. It's about spirit. It's about being of service, right? It's not about me. And when we're too focused on our ego, and this is another thing. I've seen a lot of there may be people that have tons of followers on Instagram and they're a tarot reader and astrologer, whatever, and they have tons of followers, right? And they develop this pride or this ego around their work. And you know what happens when it shows up, when it's time for them to do a reading? They can't. And they start getting all mad or angry at the client for their inability to connect. Because why? They're letting their ego overcome their gift. They're letting their ego and their pride and their arrogance, okay, overcome and block their gift. Because intuition, psychic ability, the gifts of spirit, the gifts of God, the gifts of the divine, okay, are only given to us when we're using them in for the good. And and just as quick as they give it, they take it. You can be the best psychic, but if all of a sudden you start developing pride and arrogance around your work, you know what happens? They disconnect you because all of a sudden you're doing it for the self. Or even you may have the gift and the talent, but if your heart and your spirit isn't in the right place, if you're not doing the work in alignment with morals and values and virtue, then guess what? They're going to turn off your gift. You're not going to have access to spirit anymore because there is a moral expectation from spirit, from the divine, with the talents and with the gifts, you know? And this is what I also think this is why so much like occult divination stuff has a bad rap or gets a bad rap because there are very gifted, talented people that use their magic and their gifts for bad things, to take advantage of people, to hurt people, to get back at people, for or to manipulate people. There are people that they do love magic, right? Because they want to keep someone, they want to hold on someone, they want to force someone against their will to love them. Wait a minute, what are we doing? No, 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 no. That goes against the whole philosophy of our lived experience of life, of people of honoring people's free will. Mm-mm, mm-mm. That is absolutely not what we're supposed to be doing with the gifts and the magic that we've been given. We're not supposed to be manipulating people and hurting people. No, 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 no. That's not what we're supposed to do. And when you do that, you guess what? The work backfires. The magic backfires and it gets taken away from you. So there is a certain kind of moral expectation that comes with spirit, but with any work, especially with works of profession. And we see how a lot of professions can easily corrupt the spirit. Politicians, doctors, lawyers, dentists, therapists, they're given power, they're given agency over people, over others, right? And guess what? They take advantage of their position because these positions, these professions, they have a moral expectation to them. There's an expected virtue that these people are expected to have, right? But we've seen there's so many corrupt lawyers, there's so many corrupt doctors and dentists, there's so many corrupt therapists and politicians and all these things because they allow the power of the position to corrupt their spirit and they abandon the values and the virtues that they're supposed to be upholding, right? Parents, you too, yes. Yeah, parents too, happens all the time, right? Happens all the time. It's unfortunate, but this is, what people's lived experience is. So I just want to share this with you guys because we need more astrologers and tarot readers. We need more energy workers. We need more energy healers. But so many of you guys are like, you just like lack confidence. Like you're shy and you're timid and you're very sensitive and you're a softie and you have anxiety and you you have BP and and so you're very like fragile. Like there's too many fragile spiritual people. Like we're too fragile. You guys need to stop that. You need strength, resilience, spiritual warrior. Oh, strong, powerful. That's what we need. Confident. We need spiritual people that are leaders, that are not shy and timid and hiding and insecure and excessively soft and sensitive. I don't have time for that. Let me tell you something. That energy irritates me. I'm a Capricorn moon and a Scorpio sun, okay? And I have Jupiter in Aries. I'm very, very tough. I'm very resilient. I'm a toughie, okay? Like it takes a lot to take me down, okay? I got roach energy, okay? I'm not gonna just I will come back, okay? I'm a roach. I got roach energy, okay? I always tell people Scorpio energy is roach energy. Like it's hard. You can't just kill it off easily. Okay, I'm coming back with the vengeance. Okay, it takes a lot to take me out, and I really do think, Capricorn energy invites us to be more resilient, my loves. It invites us to develop tough skin. And this is one of the things I love about, even though there's a lot of flack I get and there's a lot of like hardship that I deal with having a Scorpio stellium with Venus and Scorpio and a Capricorn moon. There's a lot of BS that I deal with, but let me tell you one thing. I'm tough as nails, baby. My mom, it's funny because I get my mom is also very tough. She has Venus and Scorpio and a Capricorn moon like me. And we're tough. We're tough. We're rough around the edges. Okay? Like you can't take me down easily. Okay? We're a little resilient. And I would invite you guys to really lean into the testing of Saturn and lean into the thick skin. And as a spiritual person, if you are on the spiritual journey, you want to develop a tough skin for life. It could be because let me tell you, it helps you. Yeah, North Node in Scorpio, that's definitely roach energy. Eighth house people too. If you're an eighth houser, the good like we don't go away quietly or easily, okay? Like, oh no, we come back. It takes a lot to take us out. It's funny because like, there's people that I know that have like eighth house placements, eighth house sun, or even have like sun. I have Sun Pluto conjunction myself. People with like Sun Pluto aspects or Moon Pluto aspects. And listen, those people like, a near death experience. Okay, cool. Like, all right, we're coming back from that. We're healing through that. Okay. Like, because listen, Pluto, eighth house people, they don't go out easily. Okay. They come back, they heal back stronger. And that's the beauty and the gift of Pluto and being an eighth house person or being a Scorpio person is like, you know, other things that would just take people out and totally defeat them. Oh no, we keep it pushing. Oh, well, I just went through that. Well, that sucked. All right, time to keep going. Like, okay, well that sucked. That was sad. That was difficult. All right, let's keep going. It's part of the lived experience. That kind of like that inner fortitude. I think it's so important. I think this is one of the gifts of Saturn people, of like Aquarius and Capricorn. When people have a lot of Aquarius and Capricorn in their chart, they're tough. They're resilient people. Like they can deal, their capacity for bullshit and hardship is really high. Like other people could be going through like these things and they're just like totally in a corner, like defeated and stuff. Oh no, not a Capricorn, not a Scorpio, not an Aries, not an Aquarius. It's Mars people too are really tough as well. But Saturn and Mars people, they're rough around the edges. You can't take them out easily, okay? They can't be held back for too long. I have an eighth house moon, Mars, and Venus, and I think I'm like that. Yeah, with pain. Oh yeah, eighth house people, they like to hurt themselves. This is a Mars thing too. This is like in Scorpio Aries thing, and they're like, oh, I gotta feel pain. I always think about those people that like they cut themselves when they're young, trigger warning, but they cut themselves when they're young because they want to feel alive. They want to feel something. And for them, that feeling is eighth house stuff. It's pain. It's like I want to feel pain to feel alive. It's like the people like that self-punish. They like flogging themselves, and they're like, it's like that's like it's a little excessive. It's a little too much. Someone said Chiron and Libra and South Node and Saturn and Aries in my third. I was very shy and timid growing up, but after my spiritual awakening, I just began posting content and speaking up, working on my confidence. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm glad that you've been working on your confidence and everything. It's very important because the thing that also, when people have a sun in a Saturn ruled sign, like a sun in Aquarius or Capricorn, or even have a Libra sun, or they have a sun even sometimes in Gemini, Pisces, these are very weak places for the sun. And so, the placement of the sun has a lot to do with our confidence. And so when I see the sun in a sign like Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Virgo, Gemini, a sun in a Mercury ruled sign as well, like struggle with confidence, struggle with identity, like having a really hard time being assertive and also willpower. It's so interesting. When people have a weak sun, they have a weak will, or they can have a weak will as well. And what I mean by that is like, our will is what we need, right? Our sun energy is what we need to like show up and assert ourselves and to kind of like shift and transform the world around us or like kind of like bend the world around us to our will, right? And when people have a really strong sun, Mr. Trump over here, he's a Leo rising with North Node Sun, Uranus together in a conjunction. Their willpower, their identity, their sense of self is so strong that it has like it leaves like an energetic imprint on the world, right? Or like it impacts a lot of people. And our goal is to really strengthen our sun and cultivate our sun because when we have a really strong sun within us and we strengthen our sun, we also strengthen our ability to shine and to like show up and like gain attention and gain a following and but also to impact and influence the lives of others. And when we have a really strong sun, when we cultivate the sun within us, we're able to be seen and we're able to take up more space and people see us more. We get recognized more, right? When we have a really strong sun, when we work on strengthening our relationship with the sun. And doing sun things, it's simple. It's like connecting to your inner child. It's like, working on your solar plexus, working on your heart chakra. It's wearing the color yellow, wearing the color orange. It's, eating more citrus fruits. It's literally getting more sun, right? And doing things to really work on the confidence, like taking the stage, taking a speech class where you have to stand in front of people and like give a speech, sharing your work, your talents, your magic, your identity with the world, allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to be celebrated, throwing a party for yourself. These are all things that strengthen the sun. And we want to really develop our sun because especially, there's this like whole everyone wants to be famous and popular. Everyone wants to be seen and recognized right now, right? But you got to ask if you want that, you got to ask yourself why first, because the why is very, very important. Like spirit, wants to give us popularity and fame, but they also want us to be very intentional with it, and they also want us to have purpose behind it. Like if you're given a platform, spirit wants you to also have a message from that platform that we're able to like benefit and uplift everybody and benefit humanity in some type of way, right? So if you want popularity and fame, you got to work on strengthening your sun, but you also need to have a good reason for it. Like what are you going to do with that? Okay, and I want you to think about that, okay, for those of you. And some people just have it in their chart. Some people just, the way their chart is built, they're literally built to be seen. They're literally created, they were born to be recognized and to be celebrated and to be on stage and to be performers and and to like, be leaders and stuff. That's what the sun also helps us do. So, if we cultivate and strengthen our sun, it also allows us to move up in society and take on positions of power. If we don't like the spotlight, is it a yes? If you don't like the spotlight, it's a signature of having a weak sun. Yes. And you'll see this with people that have a sun in Virgo, a sun in Gemini, a sun in Pisces, a sun in Capricorn, and a sun in Libra, and a sun in Aquarius. So you'll see this with people that have a sun in an air sign, especially because the air signs are cold and the sun gets debilitated in air signs, especially Libra and Aquarius. And you also see this when people have a sun in Virgo and Capricorn because the sun is being put in Mercury sign in Virgo and the sun is being put in Saturn sign in Capricorn and also in Aquarius. Aquarius and Capricorn are ruled by Saturn, and the sun and Saturn are enemies. So when people have a sun in Aquarius, a sun in Capricorn, a sun in Virgo, a sun in Gemini, and also a sun in Pisces, um, because Pisces is in aversion to the sun. So that's the other thing. If you put Pisces on the ascendant, you get Leo in the sixth house, right? If you put Capricorn on the ascendant, you get Leo in the eighth house. So this is why Pisces and Capricorn tend to struggle with self-worth and self-confidence. It's because they don't have a good relationship to Leo, to the sun, right? They're in aversion. They're both in a quincunx to the sign of the sun, which is Leo, right? So that's why a lot of Capricorns, because Capricorn has Leo in the eighth house, you have to really spend a lot of time with the Capricorns to get to know them. They're not going to show you who they truly are until you get to know them. Same thing with Virgos, because Virgo has Leo in the 12th house. So, Virgo and Capricorn, these are actually very private people. They're not secretive, they're just private withholding. They're not going to show you who they are right away. It's going to take them time to let their walls down, to let you in so you can really see who they truly are. And they tend to hide behind their job. They tend to hide behind roles, their profession. You see this a lot with Virgo and Capricorn, especially if you know them in the workplace. You will know they'll be very professional and very private, and then you won't know nothing about their personal life or their private life. Everything will be about work and business. And you will know their work and their business identity, but who they are at home with their family is like you have no idea. You don't even know who they are or how they operate, like at home or in privacy. It's because of that Leo energy. Leo in the 12th with Virgo rising, right? With Virgo. Leo in the 8th with Capricorn, and also with Pisces. Pisces has Leo in the 6th. So you're not going to, these are not signs that are going to be very confident. They're not going to show up and tell you who they are. It's going to take you some time. It's going to take you some time to get to know them, to really show for them to reveal themselves because they don't, because of it's the way the chart is built. It's the relationship with the sun. These signs don't have good relationships with the sun. So something to think about, Does that make sense? Did I explain that pretty well for you guys? My dad is a Virgo sun and work is life. Yeah. Someone said I've been clocked. Someone said they're private because they're mean. Well, yeah, Virgo and Capricorn, these are mean signs. Yeah, they are a little mean. Yeah, Virgo's a little mean. Virgo's a mean sign. Virgo's a mean sign. And Capricorn, these are mean. They're a little mean. They can be a little mean sometimes. But you know what it is? Let me tell you why Virgo and Capricorn are mean. It's because they know what people they know what people's potential is. I'm trying to use the right language. Capricorn and Virgo, they know what other people are capable of. They know what the best version of other people look like. They know what other people's potential is. And they also have very high standards. So this is another thing. Virgo and Capricorn, they have very high standards. They're very virtuous. They have very high expectations, right? They set the bar very high for themselves, and when they do that with themselves, they also do that with others. And when people don't live up to their expectations, that's when they get mean. That's when they get frustrated. Especially if Virgo and Capricorn, if someone isn't following their plan, if someone isn't living in accordance to their own rules and regulations that they've set. Because Virgo and Capricorn, they like to operate in structures. They like to operate within certain paradigms and they like to control things and they like things organized and structured. So, like Virgo and Capricorn, when they come home, they want everything clean. They want everything organized. They have a plan that they want to execute. And if someone is not living in accordance to their plan, to their structure, that's when you're going to get a very mean Capricorn and a mean Virgo. Okay. Because they're going to be like, you're not living in according to the plan. You're not living up to your potential. You're not living in accordance to my structures that I built. This is not what the schedule says. Okay. This is not what the routine looks like, little boy, little girl. Okay. So that's why they act like that a little bit. They get a little mean. Okay. And they're a little bossy. These are also signs that are very bossy, especially Virgo women. Okay. Because Virgo is a feminine sign. These are feminine signs. So you think the male Virgo and Capricorns are bossy. No, 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 no. It's actually the female Virgos and Capricorns that are very powerful, very bossy, very dominant. These are the ones, it's like you'll always see a Virgo or Capricorn woman working around a whole bunch of men. They'll be the only woman working and was surrounded by a group of men and they'll be telling them what to do. They'll be telling them what to do, okay? Because these are feminine signs, and these signs are very powerful when they are embodied by a feminine body, by a female body, right? It's so interesting though, but one of the things I've noticed is that Capricorn and Virgo men are very, very insecure. And because they have a hard time reconciling their masculinity with the feminine energy of Capricorn and Virgo, you know? So this is where you get a lot of Virgo men that are kind of like people pleasers and very inconsistent. And they're kind of like weak-willed and they're kind of like lost in the sauce and they're very subservient. Virgo men are very subservient and sometimes Capricorn men are like this too. But yeah, it's because these are feminine signs, right? So women operate better with these signs, and stuff like that. Why are they angry when single? That's so funny. Oh, well, the thing is like, Capricorn and Virgo, especially, the Taurus is a little bit different. Taurus is a little bit more go with the flow. Someone said I need a survey. Yeah. Teresa said I need a, yeah, it's a very Virgo thing. Right? Yeah, that's a very Virgo thing, Virgo Capricorn thing for sure. These signs, they put a lot of they put a lot of expectation on relationships and partnerships. Like, they are very serious. These are signs that are very serious as well. They're not here to play around or fuck around. Like they have an agenda, they have a routine, they have, there's something that they want to build or construct. Virgo and Capricorn are trying to build and construct things. They're trying to create stability. And if anybody or anything is a threat to that, oh, they're gonna fight. Also, it's so interesting about Virgo and Capricorn is, they have a fire sign ruling their eighth house. So, Virgo has Aries in the eighth house, and Capricorn has Leo in the eighth house. And so, when they get mad or angry or when they get betrayed, or when people take advantage of them, okay, you're going to see a side of them that you do not want to see, that they don't show everybody. They don't show everybody their eighth house Aries and the eighth house Leo. But if you want to see that side of them, okay, hurt their feelings, take advantage of them, betray them, and you're going to get a very, very different Virgo and Capricorn. You're gonna see a side of them that maybe you didn't want to see. Okay, but I don't know. You put yourself there. You know what I mean? It's right. Don't blame them. You shouldn't have done that thing. Okay, you shouldn't have hurt their feelings. You shouldn't have betrayed them. You shouldn't have taken advantage of them. You also shouldn't have lied to them. These are also signs that do not do well with lies and deception. They do not like that. They don't like to be lied to. They like truth and integrity, right? These are very moral signs. It's very interesting. Like Virgo and Capricorn are very moral, ethical signs. And when people aren't living in accordance to that, well, they're gonna punish you. I always think of like Virgo and Capricorn. These are signs that like to punish. They're the punishers of the zodiac. You know, so it's like if you if, if you're just not doing something right, they're going to discipline you. They're going to punish you. Okay. They're going to yeah, they're the ones. It's their task to do that. They want it's their job. Like they're the punishers of the zodiac, you know. They like to punish. They like to punish. And you know what's so crazy? It's like there's been Virgo women, like there's been Virgo Capricorn women I've done readings for. This is actually a true thing, okay? Where they've been betrayed by their spouse or whatever, or their spouse, whatever, and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna stay with them to make them suffer. You know what? They want a divorce. They want to get away from me. But you know what? No, actually, I'm tightening my grip. You know what? We're not divorcing. We're going to stay together and we're going to both suffer in this. Because you know what it becomes? All of a sudden, they want to punish their partner. They want to punish their lover for how they got their feelings hurt, right? And they want to get back at them. So they're going to go ahead and force them. They're going to be like, you know what? We're both going to sit in this mess together now. You made it like this. And now it's because they want to punish. It's their retaliation. It's how they get back. You'll see this with Cancer as well. You'll see this with Cancer. And you'll also see this with Aquarius. Cancer, Aquarius are really good at this as well. Like if they feel emotionally betrayed or emotionally whatever, they retaliate through punishment. This is a Capricorn, Cancer, Virgo, Aquarius thing. She said, Therese said, sounds reasonable to me. There's a, oh my God. Yes, right? It's like, no. How you think you're gonna have it that easy? Oh no, 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 no. I'm gonna make you suffer now. You made me suffer? You wasted my time? I'm gonna make you suffer. I'm gonna waste your time. But that's very toxic. It's very unhealthy because you know what happens is all it does, it delays the lesson and it creates resentment. And these are also things that, you know, um, are not healthy or good for the spirit. Like we don't want to hold when we develop that energy of like, oh, I want to punish someone, I want to get back at them, right? it's coming from a deep place of pain and resentment, and it's actually toxic for both parties, and it only exacerbates the karma. It only deepens your karmic connection, and it keeps you entrenched in that karmic situation. It's not good. The best thing to do is actually to free them, free yourself and free them, and just move on and let it go, so that you can complete the karmic contract, right? And not perpetuate it. Because we love to be ingrained in our karmic relationships. Like it's really bad karma to do that. You know, the mission or the goal or even the task at hand is usually freeing yourself and letting them go, right? But we what we tend to do is like hold on even tighter, and oh, we grip even more, and you're like, oh, you know what? And then we get the ball and chain out. Oh, you know what? We're gonna sit in this together. Ball and chain, right? We get the ball out, we chain our ankle, we chain their ankle, you ain't going nowhere. And all of a sudden, what are we looking like? The card that just came to me. Hold on, let me show you guys. What are we looking like? We're both in that together. We're looking like slaves, you guys. That's what it is. I'm gonna show you the card of Capricorn. I'm gonna show you this. Hold on. It makes a lot of sense. Look at this. The card of Capricorn. Look at this. Ball and chain. Do you guys see this? The devil card. Look at this. The card of Capricorn. See this? Ball and chain. We're chained. We become enslaved. The karma keeps us entrenched and it becomes a prison. And this is why a lot of us that get stuck in toxic relationships, what happens? The relationship itself becomes a prison. Capricorn, control. You see? We don't want to do that, my loves. It only exacerbates the pain and the trauma and makes it worse, right? So we just want to be very mindful of this stuff. Okay, it's right at new moon and Capricorn cycle, right? Saturn about to enter a new sign. So, well, that was a good conversation. Okay, my loves, I think I'm gonna end it here. I know we didn't. I'll find some time to talk about the moon in Pisces and moon in Aries, but it's 2:30 and I actually have a reading coming up soon. So, I think we're gonna end it here on this conversation. I love sharing the archetypes with you guys and talking about the signs and some of their attributes and stuff. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with me today. I'm gonna go ahead and post this on YouTube, so if you guys want to go back and watch it, you can. And I will see you guys on the flip side. Okay, happy new moon in Capricorn. I know the moon's in Aquarius already, but you still, if you want to, you still have time to set some intentions, to do some goal setting for 2026, to do some vision boarding, to do some manifestation work. Highly recommend it for this new moon. This is a very powerful new moon in Capricorn that cycle that we're in that was trining Uranus. So, if you want to invite this energy of something new and radical and different and something that's very emancipatory and very liberating, you want to manifest something like that, you should definitely set some intentions and do some, ritual work or manifestation work or some visualization work or whatever it is, whatever your manifestation process looks like, okay? Gave me a lot to work with. Good, good. I'm glad you guys got a lot from this. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And if any of you guys, if you've never had a reading done with me before and you always want to, and you want to like connect with me and get some insight into your chart, whatever, my calendar's open. Okay, my calendar's open. Feel free to go ahead and book. Okay, my calendar's open. All the jokes, yeah. And one thing about me is I'm gonna keep you guys entertained. I'm gonna keep you guys laughing. Okay, it definitely my goal is to always make astrology and spirituality and all this stuff really entertaining and interesting, okay? What's the best way to manifest? The best way to manifest is to have the intention and have purity of heart and purity of desire. Um, what I will say is the best way to manifest is to be very clear in mind, body, and spirit around what it is that you want and to allow what it is that you want to come to you, right? And a lot of times we think that manifestation is about action, which it is. It is about action and doing things and kind of, exerting our energy and aligning, our actions, our thoughts, our emotions, our spirit, everything with the goal and the dream. But also we got to learn how to receive. And a lot of us do not know how to receive. We don't know how to say yes. Many of us, we were taught to be excessively humble and we were taught to say no to good things because it may be too good to be true. When we were taught, oh my God, abundance could be risky. Abundance could come with a caveat. right? And so we don't know how to receive, we don't know how to say yes. And a big part of manifestation is learning how to say yes to life, is really, developing your inner self to feel that and to know, not even feel, to know that you deserve the greater things. That you deserve the greater things. That spirit wants the greater things for you. But you got to learn how to receive. Also, receiving is also learning how to ask for what it is that you want, what it is that you need. For many of you, the goal, the dream, the vision, the opportunity is literally one ask away. Spirit brings people into our life that will help us get to the place all the time. And we don't, because we're not confident, or we're not self assured, and we're not assertive, we're not taking the message. Like, wait a minute, this person came into your life because they're meant to be a bridge to that greater thing. They're meant to be a mentor. They're meant to be a guru. They're meant to be a door opener, a portal. And that opportunity is just one ask away. All you got to do is ask them. All you got to do is, share the idea with them. All you got to do is, schedule lunch with them. And the whole world could open up to you. The manifestation is literally just one ask away, just one person away, right? It's like right there. But you got to ask, and that's where agency comes in with manifestation. A lot of us, it's not enough to just sit at home and do ritual work with manifestation. You also got to go out in the world and participate in life to give life the opportunity to bring you the manifestation, right? And this is one of the things I tell people, especially with like jobs. How are you going to get a job if you're not putting in applications? How, right? Like, they're like, I'm manifesting a job. Okay, well, how many applications have you put in? Zero? What is it gonna do? It fall out of the sky? Like, you gotta give the universe an opportunity, a way in to give you the manifestation and to bring you the blessing. If you're not going around opening doors, then never expect a miracle or a magic or a blessing to come through a door. But you got to go around open doors. You got to try this. You got to try that. You got to experiment. You got to flirt with life. You got to mix and mingle. That's where a lot of divine opportunities comes in, because it all it takes is that one person. All it takes is that one conversation. All it takes is that one phone call. All it takes is that one email, and that could be the blessing right there, right? Really important. I want you guys to think about this, because so many of us don't get what we want because we're not really participating in life. We're not really living life to the extent that we're capable of. That's why people that really manifest shit, that are master manifestors, they also are very involved with their lived experience, and they're very intentional with the way they live their life, and they connect with others. They're very integrated with other people's lives, because a lot of the magic and miracles that come into our life actually come through other people, you know. And if you want to up your manifestation work, if you want to up your manifestation power, get to know people, connect with community, build community, because that's how a lot of the blessings are going to be coming in with Pluto and Aquarius in the next 20 years. Okay. A lot of the magic, a lot of the miracles, a lot of the opportunities are going to be coming in through people and through strangers. So, it's a message for you guys. I'm putting you guys on free game. Get to know people, put yourself out there. All right. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. I'm going to go ahead and post this. You guys be well. Everyone that bought a badge and that donated, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys around. Okay. All right. Bye.